certainly know from West Coast perspective, they would have thought they would have perhaps been in a bit better shape to this particular stage of the year than they are currently, and I think North would probably be a bit the same. I know North's draw's been reasonably a bit harder. I mean, North's form in the last part of last year, certainly their final wasn't great, but the previous 10 or 11 games, that was as good as anyone in the competition. And there's no doubt in my mind that neither side to this stage of the season have been able to replicate that form. West Coast are getting somewhere near full strength again with their list they got going around tonight. So they could perhaps suggest that the lack of players missing hasn't helped their cause, but I expect that we'll have a pretty good contest here tonight. And it's pretty important in the overall context of the season for both sides. I mean, if you turn your 3 and 5, 4 and 4, 4 and 4 sounds a hell of a lot better than 3 and 5 at this particular stage of the season. And if North were to lose tonight, I really wonder whether they're going to be under the pump to make the 8. West Coast lose tonight, and I think it's very difficult for them to make the top 4, which is where they think they should be, and they believed at the beginning of the season they were a top 4 side and a real chance of playing off in a grand final, perhaps winning one. You don't do that from outside the top 4, so this is a really important game for West Coast and for North Melbourne. I think it should be a beauty. Looking forward to the contest.
Yeah, look, it is certainly a very important game for both sides, and the loser, as we've discussed earlier in the call, will certainly struggle to get into a position to play finals. Statistically, they're just incredibly hard to split. We know they're both on 3 and 4 at this point in time, but they both started with 1 and 4, and looking at their form lines from there, they've both won the last 2. Statistically, they're very, very even across the ground, and the only way of splitting them, if you have a look, West Coast, their tackle count's probably up, and North Melbourne probably averages around 20 more possessions. Now, when you have a look at their scoring and defensive, North Melbourne averages 107 for and 98 against, and West Coast, very similar, 106 and 94 against. Yet North Melbourne is probably more efficient than West Coast across the ground, and actually the most efficient team in the competition at this point in time. If you have a look at the last times that these teams have met, the last 5 times West Coast have actually won on 4 of those occasions, and particularly have had a very, very good winning streak here at Subiaco. A number of things to watch out for today. Obviously, Ken, as you alluded to, you've got West Coast that probably as strong as they've been all season, with some big inclusions in Waters, Kerr, Maston and Adam Selwood, which will certainly give them a bit of grunt, balance, and more importantly some experience across the ground. We talked about Swallow, and he is under an injury cloud, and very, very important in North Melbourne, obviously leading, or certainly in the top 10 for a number of areas in the competition. He is their captain, obviously. He is the engine room for North Melbourne, but more importantly, his form line against West Coast the last 3 games that they've met has been absolutely sensational. He's polled Brownlow votes and all of those. And in the interview, they alluded to the fact that they're a bit worried about West Coast forward line. They've been in sensational form, and as far as I go, I think they're probably the difference between the two teams. If West Coast forward line can get on top tonight, that will be the edge. And obviously, we're looking for the Nic Naitanui magic door scenario. We hope that they meet in the middle at some time for a bit of excitement. It's certainly been hyped. Look, all on that form line, basically, I'm saying West Coast only just tonight.
The ruck hit-out also seems to be a real interesting one too. Goldstein number 2 in terms of hit-outs, and you've also got Dean Cox number 3 in the competition in terms of hit-outs, and gets the advantage of being able to bring Nic Naitanui into that battle as well up against Goldstein. How do you see that going, and how pivotal could that be tonight?
Oh, well, see, controlling the midfield's always probably, is the most important part of the game. I mean, it gives your forwards first opportunity at the ball, and it takes a bit of pressure off your back line. They get a chance to perhaps man up, and certainly if your midfield's is slow, the opposition down coming through the middle of the ground, it can just make life more difficult than trying to score the other way. But I mean, Cox is probably not as effective in his hit-outs as what Naitanui is. Naitanui, often when he wins his hit-outs, is quite clearly, a foot or more above the opposition player, and he's able to direct his ball pretty effectively. Cox gets his hand on the ball, quite a bit as well, obviously, and is a very good ruckman, but probably isn't able to dominate the actual, the possession to teammate from hand like Naitanui perhaps can. So, look, if they can get an advantage in that area, it's going to be a huge advantage in winning the game.
And hit outs aside, not to talk in any judgment to him, but the best thing about having Naitanui in the side for West Coast is the effect that he has on Cox. Cox's ability to go forward and kick goals has certainly improved with Naitanui in the side, and as we say, just being able to pinch hit in the middle and keep that pressure on as far as hit-outs has certainly been a boon for West Coast since Naitanui's come back into the side.
Let's head downstairs, find out the conditions, the benches. Clint Thomas, a very good evening to you.
Yes, thanks, Clint. As I mentioned before, it's really nice conditions down here for football. There's a slight breeze favouring the city end of the ground, but conditions are quite dry. As I said, we've had a couple of days of rain here over the last few days, but the ground's in perfect condition. It may get a little bit greasy a little bit later on, but right now the ground's in pretty good condition. We've got the benches for both sides. The West Coast Eagles have Gaff, Rosa, Josh Hill and Brad Shepherd as the sub, and for the Kangaroos, Ben Cunnington, Adams, Atley and Gibson as the sub. And just on Nathan Grimer, he definitely had something. He definitely tweaked something during the warm-up. He went up the race. He wasn't involved in the Kangaroos' final pep talk. He went away in another room and looked like he was getting treatment, but he's out there now taking his place. So it'll be interesting to see how he runs out the game.
Good on your CT. Plenty more from you throughout the game. We're reading it up here, Corbin, as it's a 50% chance that Clint Thomas might get a little bit wet later tonight.
I like that sort of statistic from the Weather Bureau, the 50% chance of rain. It'll either rain or it won't. Now that's another 50% chance.
Toss the coin. Who are you tipping tonight, big fella?
West Coast just. I would have said North Melbourne yesterday, but I think the ends for West Coast may just swing it back the other way.
Ken?
Corby, sounds like you got some hard-earned on there too, champ.
No, nothing tonight.
Statement.
Nothing tonight. We've got to see something from North, Judgy, surely. I mean, this is the fourth year now. They've been thereabouts the 8. They've got a number of games into their young kids. Is it time that we start seeing the next step? I mean, if they're going to play finals, they have to pinch one somewhere.
Well, they do, but as I said, they need to lift their rating on what they've delivered so far this year, because I don't think it's been to the same level as last year, and I don't think it's good enough to beat West Coast here at home tonight unless they can play at their absolute best.
The inclusion of Harvey for them, I know he came back last week, and because of the suspension that he copped here after the elimination final of last season, one that West Coast just thumped North Melbourne by 96 points. But he still seems to show that he's got the business for North Melbourne. He's got the ability to really bring something despite his age of 35 years. He can still add something to this North Melbourne side. Well, he hasn't lost his leg speed, and that's important when you get older. It's one of the things that happens to older players. You just lose a bit of a yard of pace and that sort of thing. So he can still run, and he can run very quickly. So that's a real asset. And in today's footy, the amount of space you get at times suits a player like Harvey. And I'm not suggesting he's not a good player in contested situations either. He is, but certainly the space he gets at times and his ability to run and carry the ball for North is a real plus. And as I said, he's got leg speed still as a 35-year-old. Who are you tipping?
Oh, West Coast.
James?
Well, statistically, I can't split them, but West Coast has a bit of...
West Coast at home.
West Coast at home, certainly I'll have to pick them just.
North Melbourne, almost certain to win now, because I'm going to tip the Eagles as well. We've all gone the same way in the grandstand AFL box. Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass, Ken Judge and James Clement. Clint Thomas on the boundary to bring you all the action of the Eagles up against the Kangaroos. The teams out in the middle, they're making their way to their respective positions. We'll find out shortly who will be standing alongside Majak Dor. He's taken all the headlines in the last couple of days. It was a remarkable performance last weekend against the Bulldogs. 6 goals, 4 for Dor. Can he do it again away from home this time and up against a much more ferocious defence, this time facing the West Coast Eagles? And walking across to him to start, looks like Will Schofield will be standing alongside him. Nic Naitanui will be in the ruck for the West Coast Eagles as we get things underway. Corbin Middlemass with you on Grandstand AFL.
They've gone with glass on Lindsay Thomas, which is a big call.
In game number 250, didn't toss the coin. Josh Hill did, as the West Coast Eagles celebrate Indigenous round early. The David Weir Punda Foundation fundraiser taking place around the ground. Friday night footy, the pioneers of Friday night footy, North Melbourne back on the big stage. The earliest we've seen them on Friday night since 2009. They've met the Eagles in this time slot 11 times previously, and on 7 of those occasions it's been decided by 13 points or less. And we're underway. A season shaper for both teams to kick off round 8 as Naitanui palms it straight down to Prittis. Hooks the kick down to centre half forward for the Eagles. Over the head of Dowling. Mopping back at half back was McMahon. Sweeping hand pass away to Frito. Long hand pass further afield to Swallow, the North Melbourne skipper. Ugly kick inside the middle of the ground. Harvey picks up the half volley. Hand pass away to Wells, just backward of the circles. Kicks out towards the wing. And a mark taken by McMillan just in front of the logo. As the footy for North, kicking to the 3-tier end in this opening term. Sends it towards the hot spot. A little bit of a run coming at the back from Black. The ball didn't come to him off the deck. Hand passes it straight to Marston. A turnover for North, and his kick has been intercepted as well as Mullet takes the mark about 70 out at right half forward.
So Mullet for the Kangaroos, looked inboard. Most every player in the attacking half of North Melbourne kicks inside the attacking 50, but straight to Waters. And Beau Waters takes the defensive mark between fullback and centre half back. Flares it to right half back. Ball bounces. Cox runs onto it. Hand passes up in the air. Ferrito taps it forward. Thomas taps it forward again. Over the top of it, but fumbling was Hansen. Went without it. Allowed Kerr to dive on the ground for the Eagles. Gave it to Scott Selwood. Goes back to Beau Waters. He got tackled by Thomas. Just got a hand pass away. Scott Selwood gathers hard up against the boundary. Kicks beyond defensive 50. Strong grab. Up there and leaping was Goldstein. He marks it left half forward, spears the pass inside attacking 50. Waters will give away the free kick.
Gee, a bit stiff there.
Yeah, I thought Harvey did prop.
He did prop, and he was in mid-air when he propped, and so he fell into his back. There's no doubt about it. But I just think that was an accidental contact, really.
Yeah, free kick aside, North Melbourne are actually looking very well set up tonight. Obviously come to play.
Well. Yep.
Harvey was standing his ground about 40 metres out and straight in front. Waters came looking for the spoil. Could only go into his back. So a free kick to North Melbourne. And Brent Harvey from 45 metres out sends the kick on its way. He's kicked it. Great start for the Kangaroos. Opening goal of the night on Friday Night Football. North Melbourne 1 straight 6. West Coast yet to score. 2 minutes and 18 seconds gone in the first term.
Well, that's the sort of start you want when you come to an arena like this, which is a really hard place to win. You know, this is one of the toughest trips for any of the interstate sides to come here to Subiaco Oval and try and beat West Coast, but even Fremantle now. It's really become their fortress here, and you want to take the crowd factor out of the game, as you would know, James. Often the coaches talk about get on top early, try and get the crowd factor out of it, get a bit of momentum, build a bit of confidence, and that's exactly what's happened here with that first goal to North.
Both teams super starters in season 2013, having won 6 of a possible 7 first terms. And North with the early goal here through Harvey. Back in the middle, Goldstein. First hands on it, down towards Swallow. Got a hand pass out towards Wells. Further back towards McMahon. He gave it off to Bastanak at centre half back under pressure. Squeezed to kick out. Awkward half volley pick up from McMillan. Can't quite get there. Clever hands from Gaff. Away to Marston. He goes inside 50 and he's got on the end of it. Takes the mark out on a surging lead. And he'll go back and have a set shot, 45-degree angle. He'll be kicking from about 40 metres out.
Well, firstly, that was a laser-like pass and almost impossible to defend when you've got a leading forward like that running flat out into a ball that's perfectly weighted. And once again, we just see the importance of having Nic Naitanui in the ruck. Cox is so hard to man up when he goes forward. He will always beat you in the air, but the ability and pace to get in a lead like that, phenomenal for a guy of his size.
79th consecutive game tonight for Dean Cox, the 6th longest streak in the AFL. His kick on its way. It looks very nice off the boot, and the Eagles have got the immediate reply. 1 straight 6 apiece, 4 minutes into the opening term at Subi.
Well, it is. It's a perfect reply, and well done by West Coast. And here we go once again with their strength. Cox down forward, kicking a goal on the lead from full forward, and now Mosey's on into the ruck. Very, very hard to match up on.
Yeah, no, it was, and it was a good pass from Marston. He does, at times he can be a bit shabby with his disposal, but it was very, very good then. And Cox, you're right, the backman had absolutely no chance to get in then. Cox converted.
Ball back in the middle in the hands of umpire Simon Meredith. Cox faces Goldstein. Good bounce too. Both rucks went a little early. Cox tapped it down. It bounced off Prittis for the Eagles. Came back to Cox. Tried to shovel it forward. Only to Attlee. He's got it for North. Now Mullet's kick was smothered. Wonderfully well done from Hill. Kicks a goal from 50 metres out. It'll just drop short, but beautifully, because standing in the goal square in front was Darling. and he can go back and have a shot from point blank range. Great smother, setting it up from Hill.
We did mention before the game that that West Coast forward line was going to be important for them tonight and could be the difference. And to a man, they seem to be in pretty good touch this evening, Ken.
Yeah, no, excellent. And he just got turned around, the backman there. He's in all sorts of trouble, the North backman.
Darling strolls in, kicks the goal. The Eagles hit the front in the 6th minute. West Coast 2 straight 12, North Melbourne 1 straight 6, 5:30 gone opening term. Apologies to Josh Hill, he wasn't going for goal. It was always intended to be for Jack Darling at the top of the goal square.
Well, he's won a few votes off the coach for that.
Yep, benefit of the doubt. In his early days, but the way that West Coast has distracted the last couple of centre bounces, North Melbourne would want to address it pretty quickly.
2 goals to 1. 6 minutes in, a fast start at Subi. Friday night football, the West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne. Our experts Kent Judge and James Clement on Grandstand AFL. Back in the centre, Cox and Goldstein. Cox first hands on the footy, palms it down, but straight to Zeeble as he kicks long inside 50 for North Melbourne. Hearn working his way to the front, couldn't mark. Ball bounces on the deck, skids back, picked up by McKenzie. Closest to the goals at the Subiaco end, out towards halfback. Clever nudge by Harvey, takes the mark. Just behind Adam Selwood, centering pass a little over the head of Wells. Numbers with North Melbourne on the northern wing. Hand pass back to Harvey, now Grimer. Almost on centre wing, kicks down towards half forward. Flying up is Black, trying to take the juggling mark, and he's got there. Aaron Black. He'll go back and take his kick from right on the digits of the 50 here, and he'll have to kick it almost all of that.
XWA boy, Peel Thunder lad. Brad Scott's a big rap for this kid. Reckons he can play.
7 games into his career so far. 10 goals in his career. He's got 6 in 3 games so far in season 2013. Kick looks very nice off the boot. And the Roos get one back. 2 straight 12 apiece in the opening 7.5 minutes. Friday night football at Subiaco. Ken Judge and James Clement.
Jeez, what a finish. That was an absolutely beautiful kick. As soon as it left the boot, you put the glasses down. That was always splitting the middle. So kid's got a bit of talent.
Yeah, as I said, Brad Scott's a big rap for him. Reckons the kid can really play. So he clunked that okay. So if he can take a few of those tonight, he'll certainly please his coach and also obviously a few of his admirers from Western Australia, friends and relatives.
Saw him signing a few autographs too. The start of proceedings before the Kangaroos came out for their warm-up. Quite a number of Kangaroo supporters here in the West.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's a good matchup. Brennan's come on to play on him. Jacob Brennan. Might be a bit too strong in the air, judging by that last effort for Jacob.
As Black trots towards the goal square, Naitanui wins the tap down. Couldn't get a hand pass cleanly away. Zeeble over the top. Hands it back towards Swallow. Swallow kicks towards centre half forward for the Kangaroos. Rosa was backing back into the pack, takes the mark, hands it off to Schofield. Schofield got away from Dorr, kicks it long towards right half forward. Grimer up against Darling. Grimer saw it bounce off his body, hit the ground, spilled out towards Gaff for the Eagles. Hand passes back, Lacroix receives the ball, then kicks towards the right forward pocket. He wanted Kennedy. It was a 2-on-1 against him. The mark has been paid. He'll come back towards McMahon. Hansen rather, who's got it deep in the left back pocket for the Kangaroos. So Hansen goes out towards half back. Working his way to the front was Black, couldn't take the mark, spills down to Rosa, hand pass away to Gaff, kicks inside the attacking 50, Hill lurking, Hansen had first hands on it and he was infringed upon. Free kick to Hansen again.
He's one of those players, Hansen, I just wonder whether he does enough often enough.
In the back pocket, plays on by Handel. Wells sweeps a hand pass out towards Atley as he comes out of the defensive 50. And here's Mullet marking just inside the boundary line. He'll turn and the left footer kicks into Petrie direction, 1-on-1 with McKenzie. Petrie first hands on it. McKenzie swats it towards the boundary line. Naitanui tackled, dispossessed, picked up by Bastanak, dodges one of the tacklers and then kicks down towards centre half forward. Door the target. Footy drops in front of him. They both overrun it. At the back, mopped up by Brennan for the Eagles. Hand pass away under pressure to Kerr. Swings a hand pass out further wide to Wellingham, and a little bit of numbers here for West Coast. Naitanui free. He's got the footy now in between the interchange gates. Hand pass forward to Shuey, 70 from home. Chips inside 50. Kennedy drops. No, he's been paid the mark. Had enough of it, and as he tried to get a better grasp on the footy, just slipped through his fingers. But the mark paid, and a set shot for Josh Kennedy. Boundary line about 10 metres in on his left-hand side. He'll have to kick it all of 50 metres.
Interesting, just been watching Schofield down the other end on Dore, and he's playing him pretty well actually. He just keeps taking his line, doesn't let him get a run at the ball. It's the way to play him at this point in time.
21 goals, 6 from set shots this year, Josh Kennedy. The stuttering approach. He kicks now from just inside the 50, starts out right, swings it back, and a goal for the Eagles. 3 straight West Coast, North Melbourne 2 straight. 10.5 minutes into the opening term. Grandstand AFL Friday night football at Subiaco. Ken Judge and James Clement.
Yeah, well, look, everyone has a bit of a giggle every time Josh Kennedy comes in to kick his shot at goal, but he's as you tell anyone with kicking technique, especially goal kicking technique, so long as you do the same thing all the time, it's about repetition. He does do that, and he kicks very accurately, regularly. Josh Kennedy, good goal from a good distance, and a good start, enterprising start to the game by both sides, in my opinion.
So Kennedy moves to 25 goals for the season, joining Lindsay Thomas top of the goal kicking list. And the bounce, 2 rucks go at it into each other. Goldstein won it down. Came to Swallow, was tackled, lost it. Naitanui emerges with it for the Eagles. Hand pass to Adam Selwood, wrapped up immediately. Strong tackle from Harvey. Ball was not coming out. We'll have a ball up.
That's where Natanui's at his best, that second effort. He tracks 2 or 3 players to bring him to ground.
From the ball up, Naitanui won it down. Shuey emerges with it, gets his arms free, hand passes to Prittis, hand pass to Gaff, kicks towards the defensive point of the square and finds Waters, takes the uncontested mark, plays on quickly, kicking the ball down the line. He finds Marston, who marks. Marston from the logo, heads into the left forward pocket. The ball is being met beautifully by Lacroix, sliding out. He marks, wheels around, kicks towards goal, misses narrowly to the left hand side. Minor score, first of the nights. West Coast 3-1-19. North Melbourne 2 straight 12 gone opening term. Grandstand AFL on ABC Local Radio and Grandstand Digital from Subiaco. Scott Thompson to bring the footy back into play. Goes long out towards Goldstein, the ruckman. Strong mark. Up on top of Gaff. Gave it towards McMillan and he went without it. Has to go back and collect under pressure. This may have come off his boot here. The umpire says let's throw it in. That's 70 out at half forward for the Eagles.
Taking a couple of nice marks, Goldstein, so far.
Boundary throw in. The Goldstein and Cox here. Cox works his way to the front, palms it down, made its way to Cunnington though. Hand pass away to Bastanak, hooks the kick around the body for North Melbourne. Mark taken by Waters, plays on immediately. Hand pass over the top to Rosa, kicks off a step down towards half forward. Thompson getting back, punch came from Darling in the end. A role reversal there, knocked away by North Melbourne through Grimer. McMillan set up, Atlee's hand pass is cut out. Naitanui reads it, kicks long towards the goal line. Mark taken on the last line of defence by Hansen. He plays on by hand to McMillan.
Kangaroos will bring it from beyond their defensive 50. McMillan towards right half back, right, stretching high up above his head, takes the mark. Right up against the boundary, kicks down the northern wing towards right half forward. Petrie was actually at the back of McKenzie and had to spoil himself, saw the ball out of bounds for a throw-in just shy of right half forward for the Kangaroos. Eagles leading by 7 points. 13 gone, opening term. So ball's back into play. Cox might have had the more telling touch. It came down though to Ferrito for the Kangaroos. Stumped it long inside the attacking 50. Waters read it best and was able to mark on his chest. Puts the Eagles out into the right back pocket. Finds Gaff. Rosa runs towards the boundary at right half back, and that's where the kick goes. Rosa marks. Rosa chipping short down the line, leading up strongly, marking as he leapt off the ground was Wellingham. Wellingham looked for an option short inboard. It was presented from Schofield. That's ignored. Instead, he'll kick towards the outer wing. Strong mark came from Hansen. He was in the front of a line of about 4. Might have wanted a bit too. Was able to then play on. Found Bastanak for the Kangaroos. Chips across the defensive edge of the centre square, and he'll find Ferrito, who marks. So Ferrito with the footy at centre half back. He plays on. Oh, ugly looking kick off the boot. Bounces away towards Adams. Reads it on the bounce. Chips inside 50 in a bit of space.
All spotted.
Cunnington able to run into it and take the mark. Uncontested. Slipped away from Hearn.
Well, that Barry Crocker from Ferrito probably set to play up for them there. Caught everyone out. And, luck's a fortune.
Virtually directly in front, Ben Cunnington. 18 goals in his career. He'll kick it from right on the paint of the 50. Kick on its way, starts out to the right and stays there and behind. West Coast 3-1. They lead North Melbourne 2-1. 15 minutes in to the opening term.
Eagles will play on through Hearn. He's got the ball in the goal square. And he'll fire it up the corridor. Good mark from Kennedy under real pressure as well.
Fantastic kick from fullback too.
Yeah, thumping kick. Well marked. The Eagles play on. Comes towards Scott Selwood. Kicks towards left half forward. Just shy of that. Marked instead by Glass. And he's forward, the captain. Glass plays on. Lovely kick inside the forward 50. Marston marks. He's 49 metres out. He looks to play on. And it might work out okay. It will. Lacroix marking it right full forward. Thought he was going for goal for a moment. Was heading nowhere towards the big sticks. But there, on his own, Lacroix is able to take an uncontested mark. But the angle is tight. Lacroix will wheel around and snap. And he snuck it through for a behind. He has. Pushing it across the face for another minor score. The Eagles are 3-2-20 North, 2-1-13, 16 gone, first term at Subi.
Let me tell you, Marston was having a shot for goal.
Yeah, I thought he was
no
too.
mistake about that.
Ferreira short to Harvey. Harvey still inside the defensive 50. Very short, pinpoints the pass to Petrie. Chips out towards halfback. Spots a player free in Cunnington. He lays it off by hand and away goes Atley. Couple of bounces down the outer side. Now a third and a fourth. Runs to the attacking edge of the square. Kicks inside 50. Door at the back. Slips through his hands. Waiting at the back is Schofield. Kicks out to centre half back. Kerr stands underneath it. Takes the mark at centre half back for the Eagles. Inside the middle of the ground to Selwood. This is Scott Selwood. Both the brothers back out there tonight and breaking a record in the process. As Scott Selwood kicks it straight to the North Melbourne player in Harvey.
I know what he was trying to do. Lacroix was deep, didn't quite get it over the top.
Harvey retreats with the kick to McMahon, the centre half back, and chips over the man on the mark to Wells. Wells spots a player in the middle of the ground. He's got Atley, loops the hand pass over the top to Ferreira, just forward of the circles. Can kick long inside 50, Door the target. He's on the end of it again. It bounces up his chest. Little soccer away from Kerr. Right nearly earns a free kick. The umpire lets them play and now calls for a bounce. At half forward, 40 out from the North Melbourne goal.
That Beto head is looking good, James.
Sorry?
That Beto head's looking good with him.
Yes, no, that's very true.
Last week he couldn't do a thing wrong. He's got his hands up once, Jack Door, and then that one's bounced off his chest. So, new ball game.
We'll take it again from the clearance. Emerging with it, Schofield. Found it, Rosa. He just wobbles it along the boundary line. It will tumble out for a throw-in, left half back for West Coast.
Yeah, we want to see Door do well, but they're the types of opportunities you've got to take. That was right on the chest. He's dropped quite an easy mark.
Ball spun back into play. Cox, front position for the Eagles, taps it down, bounces back to Goldstein. He's got it for the Kangaroos, gives it to Wells. Long inside attacking 50, another chance for Door. Spoiled in turn by Glass. It goes into the right forward pocket. That is a terrific kick. Grub it along the ground from almost no angle to work with, and Wright has kicked a wonderful goal.
Well, that was special. Showed some special talent then, right? I've liked him before when I've seen him here, and just showed some special skills and talent again there to kick that goal. He's a dangerous player. He can kick goals, and that was a very handy one for them. But again, we just saw Door get hands to the ball, and what he was catching last week, he doesn't look like catching this week.
West Coast 3-2-20, North Melbourne 3-1-19. Point the difference. The Eagles in front, 19 gone opening term. Having another look at the replay, that was a terrific goal from Sam Wright.
Both sides as selected tonight. The two subs, Shepherd and Gibson for West Coast and North Melbourne respectively. Naitanui in the middle, won the tap and then jumped on top of the footy. Had to get it out as the tacklers came. Swallow gave it off to Ferreira, back to Swallow. He's now lost it in congestion. Picked up by Goldstein. Hand pass away to Hansen. Now out wide to Mullet. Short kick. Finds Zeeble. Just backward of the logo on the outer wing. Short kick to Swallow, who's been busy after some doubt whether he'd played tonight with a knee injury. He turns and kicks down towards left half forward. The fly from Black again. Had hands to it. Couldn't mark. Spills down to Prittis of the Eagles. His hand pass out wide. There's a couple of Eagles waiting for him. Hearn attacked the footy. Just gets it inside the paint. Kicks along the boundary line. Hill the target. And he's helped over the line by Mullet. We'll have a boundary throw in. Almost directly on halfway on the southern wing. West Coast 3-2. North Melbourne 3-1 as we approach time on in this opening term. Naitanui Palms it down in front, went through the legs of Scott Selwood, picked up by Harvey for North Melbourne. Hand pass away to Ferrito. Another long kick down towards half forward. Waters has to wait underneath it. Bo Waters takes the mark. First time this year, all 4 All-Australians from 2012 in for the Eagles. Out towards left half back, picked up by Marston, the bouncing footy. Short kick back inboard to Scott Selwood, who takes the mark.
Scott Selwood heads back inside his defensive 50. Rosa marks, looks behind him, pushes the hand pass back. Mackenzie's with it, trotted towards the boundary, stops, starts, and then kicks down the outer side. Wellingham was the target. The 212s battling. Thomas was able to see it over the boundary line with a spoil.
I must say, as good as he is defensively, Mackenzie, I do worry sometimes when he gets the footy. I'm not sure he's urgent enough or makes enough of the right decisions. He can make some real howlers when he's kicking.
Goldstein wins the tap down, then kicks it himself inside the attacking 50. Ball emerges for the Eagles. Rosa had it, gave it to Waters beyond defensive 50. He was trying to find Adam Selwood. Instead it was cut off and marked nicely by Attlee. Chips into the right forward pocket. Wells marks uncontested. He's about 40 metres out from goal, but it's tighter than a 45-degree angle right of centre.
It is a tight angle, but Wells is the type of player that can make this look pretty easy, I think.
Yep.
Right behind him here, so we're going to get a pretty good view.
So Wells,
just on the big screen, Majak Daw might be in a bit of strife. He's actually thrown one.
Come back to that in just a moment as Wells is kicking beautifully tonight. From the moment it left the boot, no doubt. And Daniel Wells has put North Melbourne in front at the 22-minute mark of the opening term. It's the Kangaroos 4-1-25, West Coast 3-2-20.
Well, it was a beautiful finish by Wells in the end, and one that we picked, but the sound from the crowd before that on the big screen, it was footage of Dawes forcefully putting his opponent's head into the turf. So didn't look pretty, crowd didn't like it, but at the end of the day didn't affect Wells' shot for goal.
Well, perhaps for the first time in the game, and perhaps not the last, it will be the first time, Majak Daw and Nic Naitanui in the centre, facing off on opposite sides of the circle. North Melbourne in front, back-to-back goals for the first time tonight. Here's the bounce, Naitanui leaps high, Daw wins the tap, palms it down, looking to try and find Swallow. He overruns it, Daw tries to go back in after it, eventually grabs the footy, shuffles out a hand pass to Prittis though with the Eagles, gave it off to Wellington, missed the target in Marston and he overruns it. The slippery ball picked up by Attlee, hand pass away towards right under pressure. There's a free kick here, taken high.
I'll say about that effort of Daw, he jumped off 2 feet then. It's harder to jump off 2 feet than he's off one. You propel yourself more off one. He's jumped off 2 and actually got his hand up higher than Naitanui, which is a surprise.
So free kick to Attlee here, taken high, goes short to Wells.
Wouldn't recommend it's the most appropriate way to play in the ruck, but it was effective.
If it works.
Wells goes back to Thompson inside the circles. He's the closest player to the goals at the city end, and he is in his attacking half of the ground. McMillan goes back to him, short kick to Thompson. He plays on quickly, loads up. He'll have to kick that all of 60 metres. It's got the legs. That's a tremendous kick from Scott Thompson. Every single player in the ground is basically forward of him, 60 metres out. And he's loaded up and just given that everything on the drop punt. And North Melbourne have kicked the last 3 goals in the game. They moved to 5-1-31. The West Coast Eagles 3-2-20. It's the Roos by 11 points.
That kick sort of spun a bit like a drop punt, then floated a little bit like a mongrel, and then sort of just floated enough to float over the top and in for a goal.
You take them any way they come.
Oh, exactly.
And dare I say it, it's 1-0 as far as the Naitanui Daw show goes. That's in favour of Daw.
We'll get to have another look at them. They stand opposite the centre circles once more. The bounce is a shocker. It should be recalled. They don't. They've got to bring that back.
That's terrible.
Yeah, terrible bounce. The Eagles get the advantage. Scott Selwood gave it out to LaCroix. Hurried kick towards half forward. Defensive mark taken there by Thompson.
The umpire didn't call that back.
It's out of the circle.
Yep. Yeah, it was a shocking bounce. North move it through Hansen. Goes beyond defensive 50. Left half back. Right. Hand passes up in the air. Finds a teammate in Ferrito, taking a bounce now. Bastanak kicks to left half forward. Leading out was Petrie. Couldn't take the mark. Good defensive work from Mackenzie from behind.
The supporters are going a bit angry if the ball's bounced like that and gets an advantage to one or the other when the times they are in the centre.
Boundary throw in. Daw arriving late and Cox first downs on it. Down towards LaCroix of the Eagles. Kicks, very wide. Out of bounds on the full. Got 2 behinds already tonight. Mark LaCroix, the only 2 behinds that the Eagles have scored. kicking at goal has been of a high quality in this opening term. Grimer to bring it back into play. Retreats with a kick to Hansen for North Melbourne, and he goes even further back to McMahon. He'll swing it round towards the broadcast side. Just one bounce in front of Atley. He can chip it over Gaff and find McMillan just outside the defensive 50. The Roos 5-1, West Coast 3-2. North Melbourne with the last 3 in the game. Along the boundary line to Wells. Takes the mark, contested. Shuey arriving late. Just backward of the interchange gates. Daniel Wells with it for North Melbourne.
Wells already kicked a goal so far tonight. Goes short, diving forward. Harvey takes the mark. I've caught one in the back too against Scott Selwood, though Harvey now gets told to move it on. So Brent Harvey, the 35-year-old, towards right half forward, leading out and marking was Zeeble. Zeeble for North Melbourne. Again glanced inboard, now kicks into the right forward pocket. Naitanui backing back, couldn't get a hand to it. Spills down, Thomas is lurking right there. Cunnington couldn't quite get to it either as he's bumped off it. Not all that solidly, but he did enough then from Brennan to set the ball back over the boundary line again. So throw in, 51 metres out from North Melbourne's attacking goal. Door at the front, won it down through the hands of Prittis. Emerging with it, Swallow. A hurried kick bobbles its way inside attacking 50. Punched back by Waters. Into the arms of the Eagle in Lacroix. Hearn gets a kick away. Not that effective beyond defensive 50. Ferrito gathered it right half forward. Lost it. Picked it up again. It's socked back towards the boundary line. Keeping it in just Cunnington. He found Harvey. Harvey kicks long inside the attacking 50. Hearn in front. Takes the defensive mark in the left back pocket. North Melbourne's leads 11 points, 27 gone opening term. Grandstand AFL at Subiaco.
One of 10 Eagles to have played every game so far this year. Shannon Hearn goes short to Glass, celebrating a milestone game in his 250th. Swings it out wide to halfback. Mark taken by Brennan. Turns and kicks down towards the outer wing. Black and Schofield a one-on-one. Black used the body well. Tapped it to the advantage of Thompson of North Melbourne. Looping hand pass to Swallow. Back to Black. Now to Bastanak forward of the wing. Runs down towards left half forward. A couple of bounces. Now a third. Closes to 52 metres out. Centering kick. Back towards the corridor. A fly from the back from Cunnington. Spills down towards McMillan. Hands it off towards Petrie. He kicks his first of the night, and the Roos have got the last 4. And North Melbourne are out by 17 points. 28 minutes into the opening term. It's North Melbourne 6-1. They lead the West Coast Eagles 3-2. Grandstand AFL, Ken Judge and James Clement.
Well, it does genuinely feel as though North Melbourne are dominating this contest, and their ball continually seems in their hand. I mean, they've had 97 touches to West Coast 70, but inside 50s, 21-9 at this stage. That is a phenomenal stat this early in the game, and it's certainly being reflected on the scoreboard.
6 different goal kickers for the Kangaroos. Wells, Thompson, Wright, Petrie, Harvey and Black. All with their names already in the score sheet.
Just quickly, Sherrod Wellingham looking very proppy coming off as well.
Cox wins the tap down against Dorr. Ball goes onto the deck. Zeeble thought he was taken high. Umpire said no, you weren't. Shuey tries to emerge with it. He's wrapped up. Ball won't come out. Ball up just on the outer edges of the 2 centre circles. Cox again stands alongside Dorr. Dorr got the tap, but it went straight to ground. Cunnington emerged, kicked the ball towards centre half forward. In front, Waters couldn't take the mark. Comes off the boots of Adams. He just tried to soccer it forward. Sliding in there too, Rosa. Wrapped up again by Zeeble. And umpire Simon Meredith will run in for a ball up.
Clint Thomas on the boundary.
Corbin, it might be a left ankle there for Sherrod Wellingham. He came off just before, but appeared to be okay. Came back on, but had to come back off, obviously, hobbling.
Cox and Dorr. Dorr palms it down to Cunnington. Bounces a kick inside 50. Picked up by Waters, though, for the Eagles. They'll swing it out wide with a kick. Big fly from Hill. Can't come down with a footy. Spills down towards McMahon. He gave it off towards Atley. He's tackled and taken to ground. The umpire lurks and now calls for a bounce. Gee, he got upstairs, Josh Hill. Straight leap up on top of the shoulders of his opponent. Free kick paid here. It won't matter.
Have a shot, big fella.
Jack Dorr
have a shot.
Kick.
I think he is.
Yeah.
He's about 80 metres out.
Well,
and that's maybe being generous. He'll go the Tory.
He's hit the barrel down there.
He's got hold of it. And it's marked about 15 out from his
wasn't bad off 2 steps. It took about 2 steps to kick that.
That's it for the opening term. North Melbourne finished with the last 4 goals, and as a result they hold a 17-point buffer at quarter time. The West Coast Eagles 3-2-20. They trail North Melbourne 6-1-37.
The goal kickers for North Melbourne beating Daniel Wells, Thompson, Wright, Petrie, Harvey and Black. While for West Coast, their goals to Hill, Cox and Kennedy. An impressive quarter from North Melbourne. They lead by 17 points. It's North 6-1-37. The Eagles 3-2-20. Quarter time at Subi. This is Grandstand AFL. It's North Melbourne by 17 points here in the West. 6-1-37 of the Eagles 3-2-20. With his thoughts on the opening term, Ken Judge on Grandstand AFL.
And we had a good contest there. I thought we had sides going goal for goal from end to end there, but then North took control. I mean, they dominated the last 10 or 12 minutes of that quarter. And to me, I mean, North have come here to play tonight. I mean, I know you come to play every week, but they look like they've really come to play tonight. They understand the importance of this game in this season, and there's nothing better than to win a game away from home at a particular place like this, as I said before, which is such a, the opposition is so often so heavily favoured to win here. But there's a long way to go in the game, I know. But West Coast need to get themselves going because North are winning in the key stats. James, you mentioned that inside 50, it was 22-9 in the first quarter time. They're winning in the clearances 11-8, and they're winning in getting first possessions 14-7. So they're dominating around the contest, which in turn is allowing them to get the ball inside 50. And the thing they're doing better than West Coast, they're using the ball better. West Coast have just, have made some rushed and hurried kicks out of their back line, which have either gone out in the full or haven't gone to an opponent. They've kicked it to a North player. The ball's gone back in there again. So their back line's under some serious pressure at the moment, West Coast. So they need to tidy up their use of the ball. Whereas from a North Melbourne point of view, they'd be pretty satisfied with that start, especially if they can keep that momentum going.
Yeah, absolutely. Coming into the game, we knew that North Melbourne's the most efficient team in the competition. They've certainly showed that tonight. That weight of possession, 30 more possessions in the first quarter than West Coast is incredible. But their ability to maintain that possession has been key. Early on, we said that a main risk to North Melbourne not doing that well tonight was the power of West Coast forward line. And early, they looked as though they were in fine form. And the ease of ball going inside and their ability to pinpoint their forwards looked ominous for North Melbourne at the time.
One of the ways to try and avoid that strength from an opposition to win the ball round contests, etc. That's what they're doing. And punch the ball into your forward line. It's a long way back when you're starting from the last line of defence to get to the other end of the ground. So they've done that well so far, North. The question is, can they continue it? I'm sure John Morsfold will be highlighting all those things to his players as well. So interested to see how they come out in the second quarter.
The other issue as well, just as far as that inside 50 count, I wouldn't call it a traditional forward press, but certainly their ability to lock that ball inside their forward 50 line has given them ample amount of opportunity. They're looking very, very good. And our tips across the board, boys, aren't looking that strong at this point in time.
Did say there was always that danger. Clint Thomas's boundary side, CT.
Sherrod Wellingham's gone into the rooms. There's a bit of concern for his left ankle. Of course, he missed the start of the season this year with a right ankle injury after he fell for a friend's trampoline during the pre-season. As I said, he's up in the rooms at the moment, so a bit of concern here for Sherrod Wellingham.
Just having a look at some of the stats for the individual ones, and we'll go through them for the Kangaroos. Wells with 10, Harvey 9, Atley with 8, with 7 disposals for Rito, Hansen, Swallow and Bastanak, while for the West Coast Eagles, Waters has 8 touches, Rosa and Scott Selwood with 7, Lacroix with 6 and Gaff with 5. It is the Kangaroos by 17 points as we get this second term underway. Corbin Middlemass with you on Grandstand AFL.
So North Melbourne 7-1 in opening quarter so far this season. Kicking the final 4 goals of that term. They lead by 17 points.
Any other little stats for us, Corby, that translates into anything?
We'll have a few that we may just sort of slot in there throughout the evening, Judgy. Stay tuned. Here's Naitanui, pumps it down towards Pritis. Our pass away towards Shuey. Kicks down to centre half forward. Arriving is Thompson with some force. The double-fisted as punches it all the way back towards the outer wing. And sliding in for the Eagles was Waters, but Pritis ends up with the footy on the logo. Kicks down towards half forward. Scott Selwood marking in front of Wells. Lays it off quickly by hand to Gaff and shows good pace. Runs straight past Wells. Centering kick back towards Lacroix, who's on the end of it. Outstretched, takes the mark. He's had two behinds so far tonight.
He's actually started okay, Lacroix. He had 6 possessions. Kicked a couple of points in the first quarter, so he's been dangerous. He just hasn't kicked a goal as yet.
Well, that was just a great passage of play from West Coast. Obviously, they took a risk, played on quickly, used their leg pace to take on the opposition. Kicked it to a very dangerous spot, obviously at the top of the square, resulted in a mark, and this should be a goal.
So Mark Lacroix, set shot, and he's put it through. West Coast with the first of the second term. 4-2-26. They still trail North Melbourne 6-1-37. The margin back to 11 points in the opening 75 seconds of the second term.
Well, that does put serious pressure on the opposition back line. If that's one of your keys, your forward line, that's what you've got to do. Quick ball movement, plenty of overlap, plenty of run, and obviously take your chances when you go down there.
Lacroix's goal, getting a run of 4 unanswered goals from North Melbourne. He's 14th of the season. Dual leading goal kicker for the West Coast Eagles. So we'll wait for the bounce. Hopefully this one is a little bit better. The one we saw earlier is indeed from Matthew Nichols. Both rucks go at it. Goldstein and Naitanui spills to the deck. Naitanui gets a hand pass looking for Kerr. Couldn't take it cleanly. Hearn gathers for West Coast. Kicks high up in the air. It'll land in space. The attacking point of the centre square. Rosa gathers it. Got a hand pass away before he was tackled to Prittis. Onto Marston. He kicks around the body towards left. Full forward. Umpire spotted a free kick.
The free kick was there.
It's going to be the Eagles. Dean Cox was being held. It'll go against Hansen, and Cox from deep in the left forward pocket will go back and try and kick what would be his second of the evening.
He's just so hard to match up on. I keep harping on it, but it's such a big target. At the same time, very, very strong and incredibly agile for his size.
Plenty of tape strapped on the left elbow for Dean Cox. It won't affect him from here as he kicks towards goal but misses, pushing it across the face. Minor score to the Eagles. They're 4-3-27. North Melbourne in front by 10 points. The Kangaroos 6-1-37. 2:51 gone second term.
To himself, Mullet from the kicking, and then long out towards halfback. Kennedy knocked it down towards Rosa. Now Glass for the Eagles. Hooks the kick across the body, back towards the hot spot. Getting across is Adam Selwood. Punched away from him. Spills down to Shuey though. Hooks the kick across the body again. Needs a kind bounce. He doesn't get one. Another behind for the Eagles. They're 4-4. North Melbourne 6-1. The margin back to 9 points in favour of North Melbourne. 3.5 minutes into the second term. Thompson has just put down Matt Rosa here. Rosa a little slow to get up, and so Thompson takes the mark uncontested.
Kicking was from McMillan. Thompson's got it. Rosa still looks a little sore as Thompson puts the kick beyond defensive 50 to centre wing. And Jack Dorr was worked underneath it pretty nicely too by...
Did he push him?
Yeah, he did, but he got away with it.
That was an unleash the geese one. Did he not fully extend the arm?
I'm completely confused now.
So am I.
That
I
was
thought he pushed him.
Schofield, and he gave it short towards Waters. Went into the middle of the ground to Prittis. In turn to Brennan. Spears the pass inside attacking 50. He wanted Selwood. Scott Selwood it is. Or Adam Selwood rather. And the free kick's going his way. He got a push in the back. This time a push in the back being paid. Short kick into the left forward pocket. Bounced right in front of the boots of Kennedy. He couldn't take it. And it spills over for a boundary throw-in.
Matt Rosa only now just joining back in with general play. It wouldn't be surprised if he's just got one right in the middle of the midriff here. Looks extremely winded after that collision with Thompson, which I'm sure we'll see again on the replay from the boundary throw-in. Cunnington clearing kick, only as far as Waters. Marks 60 out, heads to the pocket. Gaff the target. Marks just inside the boundary line at left half forward.
Geez, Waters been very good for them tonight on his return. Part of everything. But particularly in that sweeping role, he plays that third man up just as good as anyone in the competition, particularly for his size.
So Gaff about 45 metres out, right up against the boundary. His kick will go right to the goal line. Naitanui almost takes a one-hander. Spills behind, top of the goal square. North Melbourne through Grimer as it wrestled from him. Kennedy threw a boot at it, nothing doing. Now Selwood's tackled, taken to ground. Umpire will call for a bounce at the top of the goal square.
Is that not a push again? Have we chucked that rule out now?
Ball thrown up. Naitanui palmed it down. Swallow just knocks it to his own advantage. Gathered by Harvey, and he thumps it long beyond defensive 50. Sliding out to take the mark is Brennan. And he's a metre in from the boundary.
He's at left half forward. Brennan will put it back from whence it came. Into the left forward pocket. Big fly from Naitanui in a pack of about 7. Ball bounces away from everyone and tumbles over. It'll be a throw-in at left full forward.
Tell you what, I reckon one thing West Coast addressed at their quarter-time huddle was certainly their forward press. It's been immaculate this quarter. Melbourne hardly able to get the ball out.
And I think they're quicker ball movement.
Eagles on the attack. Came down off the ruck tap. It was taken by Prittis. He snapped quickly from the left forward pocket but missed to the left-hand side. Minor score. North's lead now 8 points. They're 6-1-37. The Eagles 4-5-29. 6 gone. Second term at Suban. Both sides came in as selected tonight. Brad Shepherd and Sam Gibson, the 2 subs. Ferreiro, a long kick of the footy out towards halfback Black. With the best leap, couldn't come down with it. Spills down to Adams, sweeps a hand pass forward to Swallow, back inboard to Harvey, trying to run away from Brennan, takes a bounce and then heads out wide, a second bounce, retreats now, just kicks a high ball down towards half forward. Petrie the target, it'll bounce in front of him, spills behind towards Adams, who's kept on going, kicks the kick back towards the corridor, one bounce, makes its way towards Black, knocks free of him, picked up by Kerr for the Eagles, hand pass back to Glass, and he'll go across the goal mouth to Cox. Takes the mark in the opposite pocket for the Eagles. Short kick to Rosa. Playing in defence this evening. He'll head along the boundary line. The lead comes from Schofield and he's on the end of it. 8 points the margin. Kangaroos haven't scored so far in this term, which is 7 minutes old. Short kick to Kerr. The reigning Christian medalist. The ABC Footballer of the Year from the 2 local teams here in Perth, in Western Australia and Fremantle, named after Jeff Christian. Short kick to Hearn. Backward of the wing. He spots Gaff and the switch is on.
Open up Brennan.
Yep, Gaff's got it. He finds Brennan as well on his own on the logo out of sight. Acres of space and time to kick towards left half forward. Leading out and marking Hill. Hill now puts it deep inside the attacking 50. Big pack gathers underneath. Strong mark defensively from Hansen. Hansen now gets told to play on. He stepped off his mark. I'm not sure if he knew for a moment. So forced to kick. Finds Wells sliding out. Now Wells hasn't taken the mark here and he's got 2 Eagles surrounding him. He'll be in real trouble here, Wells. The ball doesn't get free. Hansen tries to take it away for the Kangaroos. It's spilled out luckily for the Roos to Atley. Spears a pass down towards centre wing. Black couldn't take it. Picked up nicely by Cunnington. Tries to get away from Schofield. Questionable hand pass, but it was paid. Came to Hansen. Kicks the left half forward for the Kangaroos. No mark taken. Shuey tries to bring it into the middle of the ground. Harvey emerges with it, surrounded by Eagles. Elects to hand pass to Petrie. Back to Harvey. Kicks over the top of the centre circles to find Swallow, who marks and plays on by hand. Now with Thompson. Hand pass to McMahon. McMahon sends it inside the attacking 50. It's marked just inside it in the right forward pocket. That's Ferreiro. He'll go with a short chip to Thomas. Marking 48 metres out and a metre in from the boundary in front of where the Eagles race is.
Not sure Dean Cox would be responsible for Thomas in that particular time, but he was. Someone was covering someone else and Cox has had to chase him. And he wasn't going to beat him in a foot race.
Lindsay Thomas, 25 goals, 12 for the season. It's a very tight angle. The left footer's kicks on its way. He misses to the right-hand side. Minor score. North's lead back to 9 points. They're 6-2-38. West Coast 4-5-29. 10 gone second term. Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
Sharad Wellingham's returned from the Eagles room, but it looks like his night is over. Brad Shepherd has been activated into the game.
Long kick up the middle from Hearn, finds Kennedy, as they've done already tonight. He turns and kicks down to half forward, running back onto it is Darling. Little nudge from McMahon, who's now got the footy tackled, but knocks it out. He's been picked for holding the ball. So Jack Darling rewarded with the free kick. 55 metres out from goal. Not comfortable with the distance, short inside 50. And on the end of it is Mark Lacroix takes the mark.
That's going to put some pressure on West Coast with their rotations now, losing Wellingham. What you don't need to do now, this early stage in the game, is to lose another one, because they'd really be under the pump. And we saw that with Carlton against St Kilda. You might cover for one to try and cover for two if they were to lose someone else. Very difficult this early in the game.
So Mark Lacroix from about 45 metres out kicks right and stays there. Third behind for Lacroix tonight. He's got 1-3. West Coast to 4-5-29. North Melbourne 6-2-38.
See what he's doing. He's leaning back when he kicks Lacroix, and he didn't, and he doesn't usually do that. When he's a good kick, and he usually gets more forward momentum.
Ferrito's defensive kick was long towards right half back, but it was marked by the Eagles. Kennedy has it from left half forward, goes inside the attacking 50. Darling got a fish to it, spill down the curve for the Eagles. Sweeping hand pass over the top, finds gap, kicks towards full forward. Lacroix couldn't take it. Atley overran it, spills down to Prittis, tries to snap around the body, not far enough to be a mark. So Ferrito, who was able to catch it on his chest, had to deal with it quickly, thumped it beyond his defensive 50 towards left half back. It came to Rosa, who tried to put it back inside the attacking 50, and a great smother from Zeeble spoils the ball over the boundary line for a throw-in.
Well, we've seen two terrific smothers tonight, one by Wells and then one by Zeeble there.
Ball back into play. Cox palms it down onto Zeeble, ducked out of the Prittis tackle, moves the ball into the centre square. With it there is McMillan, gives it on by a hand towards
He's got to run all
Wells.
the way here.
Yeah, it was Thomas. Thomas elects not to run all the way. He kicks from about 55 outs and he misses to the right-hand side. He could have kept going. Minor score. North's lead moves out to be 9 points. 6-3-39. West Coast 4-6-30.
That was just a poor decision. He had a paddock in front of him and players around him that were surely talking to him, saying that he had plenty of room. He could have run to 40 metres out then.
Schofield short to the back pocket to Brennan. Kicks long, looking for Waters. He flew. And didn't take the mark. Fans wanted a free kick. Nothing doing. Mullet 1-2 on the hand pass with Hansen. And the left footer goes down the line to Wells. Almost spent it. Took the mark. Goes back and takes his kick. Centering pass to centre half forward. Cunnington on the end of it. Marks 45 out directly in front.
That was beautiful vision. Obviously, to find his teammate and just perfectly weighted kick. Oz, who was looking a bit longer, but just checked it right at the end and just snuck it inside. Obviously 40 out.
So the Eagles have kicked 1-4 for the quarter.
You've got to take your chances, and they haven't perhaps done that.
And now Cunnington from 49 metres out. Set shot on the way. Straight over the top of the goal umpire's cap. A goal for Ben Cunnington. North Melbourne with their 7th. The first for the second term. They move to 7-3-45. West Coast 4-6-30. The margin back to double figures. The Roos by 15 points at the 13-minute mark of the second term.
Well, Ken, what that goal does is it actually looks the misses from Cox and Lacroix look very, very expensive. Obviously, West Coast have thrown absolutely everything at North Melbourne at the start of this second quarter. They've absorbed it and been able to go forward and obviously put an important score on the board.
Yeah, that's right. It just snuffs out all that play you've had. When you had it, put that scoreboard pressure on, get on the other end, you look up and you think, gee, we're no further in front than we were, no mainly ground up on what we were behind at quarter time. And we've had all the play for the first 12 minutes or 13 minutes.
Goldstein faces Naitanui. Goldstein won the tap down for the Kangaroos. Sharked by Scott Selwood. Got a hand pass away to Naitanui. Gives it to the Eagles in Marston. Kicks towards left half forward. Sliding out onto his knees. Darling couldn't take the mark. Actually sat on the football. Grimer steals it away. Hurried kick off one step. Bounces towards the boundary line. Shepherd out after it. That tumbled along the boundary line. The ball refused to go out. Came back into play. Shepherd was there to pick it up. He's kicked towards left half forward though. Marked by Zeeble. Zeeble takes the defensive mark. Puts the Kangaroos right back to full-back. McMahon's there, marks and plays on. Short pass to Atley. He's in the left back pocket. He could come down the line to Thompson if he wants to. Prittis has seen that danger. He'll have to back. Thompson waits and stands his ground. The ball flies over the top of the both of them. Thompson tries to drag it in on the boundary line. He's been held surely by Prittis. And eventually the ball's over. Worked into it. Now
he's going to look side on that umpire. That was just absolutely
There were three separate free kicks in that incident.
Tugs on the jumper.
Unbelievable.
And there's still a bit of push and shove going on between Adam Selwood and Scott Thompson. Goldstein swats it away, but straight to Scott Selwood. Over his back and too high was Wells. Advantage applied. West Coast through traffic. Naitanui to Prittis. Hand pass to Marston. Feeds it back to Scott Selwood. Ugly kick down towards half forward is very high in the air. Enough time for Hansen to float through and take the mark. Umpires tonight, Dalgleish,
Nichols and Meredith. Dangerous kick back to the corridor. The Eagles a chance at centre half forward. Lacroix went the bump, spun, swallow around, gave it off to Zeeble. Hand pass sets Wells free through the middle of the ground. His kick, awkward pick up for Black. There's 2 players down. Brennan included for the Eagles. Kicks long in the door direction. He flies through. Couldn't take the mark. Spills down towards Adams. He's tackled by Hearn. Driven into the turf. The umpire lurks and calls for a bounce now.
They're not well, either of those players.
No. I think it's Brennan and Wright.
Yeah, they're not well at all.
They've clashed, not knowing. Yeah. They've collided heads. The 2 of them. They're not actually direct opponents. Brennan was running back and then collided with the North Melbourne player coming in the other direction.
Yeah, Wright was coming forward, and it was literally they just crossed paths, met at a 90-degree angle, and heads collided. There's nothing untoward about it at all, but they are both in serious trouble still. Brennan particularly. Wright has just got up off the ground, Corbett.
So North Melbourne by 15 points here at the 16.5-minute mark of the second term. Just repeating, West Coast have made their sub. Sharad Wellingham out of the game with a suspected ankle injury, and Brad Shepherd has been activated already into the game. Good news for Brennan. He's up on his feet. Been helped off by the trainers as play restarts. Centre half forward for the Roos. Picked up by McMillan. Hand pass away towards Wells. His kick smothered by Naitanui. Picked up by Rosa for the Eagles, and a hand pass out to Kerr.
Kerr back in the side after a knee complaint. Moves the ball by foot on towards right half back. Finds Kennedy short past to Waters. Waters options ahead of him. He'll put it long. He wants Shepherd, who backs back. Couldn't take the mark though. He'll get the free kick having his arms chopped. And that might be 50 as Thompson does a bit of extra tackling on Rosa as he tried to get the ball back towards Brad Shepherd. Umpires say no, nothing doing. So Shepherd has it about 55 out from goal. 45-degree angle. He's been subbed into the game with the ankle injury to Sharad Wellingham. Looks like he's going to have a shot for goal. From about 51 out, kicks on its way, starts out to the right, it won't swing back. Minor score. West Coast moved to be 4-7-31. They trail North, who are 7-3-45. The Kangaroos by 14 points, 17 gone second term.
Mullet brings the footy back into play, kicks to himself, sells the dummy, runs out towards half back and then kicks long to Bastanak, takes the mark. Uncontested.
A sensational play, took it on then.
Bastanak calls for something to break downfield, has to kick to a contest in the end. Hugger looking kick for Zeeble. Going to punch at the back, Adam Selwood, door overrun it, picked up by Rosa. Hand pass back to Shepherd, has it almost in the centre of the ground, kicks down towards half forward. Kennedy the target, McMahon has helped it over the line. Umpire says that's okay, we'll have a boundary throw in, half forward for the Eagles. North Melbourne by 14 points, 18.5 minutes into the second term.
Ball back into play, Naitanui waits, no one elected to contest, he's able to tap it down, it came back to him again. Spills towards Scott Selwood, kicks around the body, turns it over. Defensive mark by McMahon at left full back for the Kangaroos. McMahon wanted an option. Could have gone short to Zeeble, in fact he does. Spearing the pass that Zeeble marks uncontested on his chest. Still inside his defensive 50 in the left back pocket. Bastanak provides a short lead. Zeeble elects to ignore that. Goes deeper down the line. Pack of four. McKenzie in front. Flies. Petrie behind him. Neither could mark. Spills down to Kerr. Hand passes to Adam Selwood. Back to Kerr. Moves the Eagles to centre wing. Hand pass over his head. Found Scott Selwood, who turns it over. Mark was dropped by Ferrito. Spills out towards Pritter. Centre half forward. Gave it on to Darling. Darling from 52 metres out. Misses narrowly to the left. Chance goes begging again for the Eagles. Another minor score there, 4-8-32, North 7-3-45. So it's a 13-point advantage to North, 20 gone second term.
And they're 1-6 for the quarter, West Coast. Long kick out towards half-back. Tremendous mark from Petrie, coming three back in the pack.
They wasted some chances, West Coast. That was a goal that should have been kicked again.
Petrie retreats back inside the defensive 50. Mark taken by Thompson. Involved in a tussle earlier with Rosa. Copping a few boos. Short kick to McMahon. Oh, his kick misses the target, going out to Mullet. Having tackle from Shepherd, spun around, got a hand pass away to Grimer. Still with North at half-back. Hand passes to himself in the end to Dodge Marston, and kicks down towards the logo. Cunnington clever, palmed it straight down in front, trying to get it towards Wright, who's back on the ground and pushing the back.
I actually think he fell forward then. A bit lucky. tried to be a bit clever and actually was falling forward as the West Coast player came in. So
Sam Wright.
You take them as you get them.
Wright with the free kick, involved in the head clash a short time ago with Brennan. Goes short to Thompson. He's got it just backward of the circles.
Brennan still looks really groggy. Standing up behind the interchange gates. Hand pass comes from McMahon for the Kangaroos to Thompson. Got the kick away. Deep inside the forward 50. Good defensive grab. It was Hearn as he was falling backward. He was able to tuck the ball under his right elbow. Drag in the mark. So Shannon Hearn just looks to chip it short. It was dangerous. McMillan was closing in quickly on Shuey, but Shuey was able to mark in the left back pocket. Beyond defensive 50, backing back, real courage shown by Selwood. Couldn't take the mark, Scott Selwood. Spills down again to Ferrito. The Kangaroos can move it forward. Bounces into the path of Swallow. Slides out. Got tackled by Prittis. The ball spills free. Well done from Kerr. Slid out, trapped the ball, picked it up, gave it to Shuey, gave it to Scott Selwood. High kick towards centre wing, out of side. Unable to trap it was Hanson. Spills out to Thompson, bounces away from him. High contact going the Kangaroos' way. It'll come back to Thompson, I think it is. It is. And he'll go short and he'll find Hanson. Hanson looks for an option. He's got the tall figure of Naitanui standing in front of him.
Goes back to Hanson.
That was that crate of pies.
Hanson loads up, kicks down towards centre half forward. Spills down to Ferrito. His kick is smothered. Picked up by Rosa. Ball jarred free. Now Wells dancing around. Heavy bump laid on Shuey. Spun around. Got the hand pass away to Schofield. Then the kick from McKenzie smothered by Wells. Adam Selwood dragged off it, taken to ground. Charging through Cunnington. Manages to get a boot to it and gets a shot away on goal right to the line. Goal umpire calls it touch by Prittis. And behind, Adam Selwood still a little slow to get up, as is Shuey. Already 2 problems on the West Coast Eagles bench, and both those men in the arms of the trainers.
Head on the ground then, Selwood, when he got tackled. He got thrown down pretty heavily.
Shuey's was a bump from Petrie. I think they'll both come to the interchange. Yeah.
Shuey's in some trouble. He's done a shoulder.
14 points the margin, the Roos over the Eagles.
Kick towards right half back for the West Coast Eagles. It comes down off the deck. Scaff gives it on to Marston. Shuey still running forward, able to get a hand pass away towards Lacroix, and then Shuey will head straight off the ground. Lacroix's kick inside attacking 50. Kennedy couldn't take it. Hill was looking to tap it into the path of Cox. Missed its target. Thompson sees it over the boundary line for a throw-in. Clint Thomas is boundary side, but there's a lot happening in the West Coast Eagles bench.
A lot happening down on the Eagles bench. Jacob Brennan's back on, but he still looks a little bit groggy, and Luke Shuey's off with what looks like a left shoulder injury.
Make it worse, of course, for the Eagles. They've already used their sub. Willingham out with an ankle injury. Shepherd been subbed in. The Eagles want holding the ball deep inside their attacking 50. Kangaroos have it. They can't work it out. It'll be a ball up.
Might be in some pain, West Coast, with a few of these blokes. They've had a couple of head knocks. They've Shuey's come off with a crook shoulder. They've lost Wellingham.
Goldstein wins the tap. It bounced back to him. He hurriedly kicks towards the northern wing. Onto it. Dorr showing plenty of pace. Can he get away from his opponent? He can't. Good tackle came from Schofield. He just got the hand pass away too. Shepherd has it for the Eagles in the centre circles. Towards right half forward. He wanted Cox. Well done though by Goldstein. Read it best. Won it to ground. Then tapped it to McMillan. Ran straight into the tackle of Marston. Ball jars free once more. Goldstein goes again. Hill's there for West Coast. Can't pick it up. Sweeping hand pass comes out from Black. Taking it Shepherd, who sees it over the boundary line. It's another throw-in.
Moreover for West Coast, not just the fact there's no relief on the bench. They've got a few blokes out there that are second and third up from a spell as well for the boundary throw-in. Cox palms it down to Zeeble, who's dispossessed. Spills out towards Waters. Gave it to Shepherd. Then Adam Selwood squeezes a kick out close to the boundary line. Well, Shepherd, in fact, with the kick. Helped over the boundary line was Hill. Clint on the boundary.
And now Luke Shuey's back on, but he's definitely favouring that left shoulder, so definitely not 100% at the moment, Luke Shuey.
From the throw-in, Cox palms it down to Shuey. He'll get a work out here. Heavy tackle laid by Cunnington. Umpire calls for a bounce. 25 minutes into the second term. It's North Melbourne 7-4. They lead West Coast 4-8. The Roos by 14.
Ball thrown up. Tap one down by Cox. No one could take it cleanly. Zeeble tried to shovel a hand pass forward. Intercepted by Cox of the Eagles. Then Zeeble goes up and just punches it into the path of Petrie. He gathers and then gets tackled himself. The ball's locked in. Another ball up. Just outside the centre square. attacking side of halfway for the West Coast Eagles. One down by Cox. Shuey's kick was touched. No mark inside the attacking 50. Off hand, spills down towards Hill. Hill can snap it goal from the right forward pocket. Needed to be remarkable. It was still pretty good, but it's just a minor score to the right-hand side. North's lead now 13 points.
Atley short to the back pocket. Here's Hansen. Back to Atley. Top of the defensive goal square. Sidesteps Kennedy, and he's away. Out of the defensive 50. Heads with a kick to no one in particular. One bounce makes its way to Adams. Feeds a hand pass out wide. He's got Mullet there for him. Kicks into his attacking half. Black out on the lead. Takes the mark between wing and half forward. Plays on. Loops a hand pass over the top towards Swallow. Bends down to pick it up. Waters closing in. Swallow lost his footing. Tackled. That'll be holding the ball.
Oh, he just made it hard for Swallow then. Put the handball to his feet. If the handball had gone to Swallow on the full, he was running into an open goal.
So an eventful quarter, not much happening on the scoreboard, but plenty down on the interchange. The West Coast Eagles find themselves behind by 13 points. It's North Melbourne. 1 goal apiece for the term. The Roos 7-4-46. They lead West Coast to a 4-9-33. The Eagles kicking 1 goal 7 for the quarter.
North Melbourne's goal kickers, all individuals. They remain Wells, Cunnington, Thompson, Wright, Petrie, Harvey and Black. They're 7-4-46, while the Eagles 4-9-33. Their goal kickers also all singles. Lacroix, Kennedy, Cox and Hill. North Melbourne by 13 points after they led by 17 points at quarter time. And as Corbin mentioned, the Eagles will be ruining their missed opportunities in that second term. Let's get the thoughts of our experts who on Grandstand AFL tonight from the West are Ken Judge and James Clement.
Yeah, well, West Coast did all the attacking in the first 10 or so minutes of that second quarter, and it appeared as though they'd really worked their way back into the game. But unfortunately, the 1 goal 4 point return wasn't the sort of return they wanted. They ended up kicking 1 goal 7 for the quarter, so they didn't actually take their chances, whereas North's return was 1 goal 3. The real concern for West Coast at the moment, I think, is the health of their list. I mean, they've lost Wellingham. He's gone for the game. We've seen Shuey running around with it. He's definitely got something wrong with his shoulder. I mean, they may be able to inject him to get him through this game, but he's certainly favouring his left shoulder. We've had a heavy head knock to Brennan, and we also had one, I think, Adam Selwood cop on as well. So the health of their list is a concern, and as we know, with the rotations in football nowadays, it gets difficult if you end up with 1 or 2 players down, and if it particularly happens early in a game, and Wellingham was gone by the 10-minute mark of that second quarter, so that's a concern for West Coast. But the one thing they did do, they did actually work themselves back into the game as far as a lot of the key indicators go. I mean, they worked their way back in as far as first possessions go. They won the quarter 8-5, and they won the clearances 7-5 after going down significantly in that first quarter. So they actually were able to start to win some of that ball there, which, James, you alluded to before, that you think the North's backline could be vulnerable with the West Coast forward line. Well, one of the ways to put it under real pressure is to win the ball at contested situations, at clearances and that sort of thing. And they started to do that. As I say, I just hark back to, it'd be interesting to see how healthy their list is, whether they can patch these blokes up and keep them going, because if they were to lose one player, another player, or a couple of those players are seriously hampered in the second half, you can see that North, if they stay healthy, might be able to actually run over the top of West Coast here. So North have been good, they've been game, they've been very game in actual fact. They're still having a go, but West Coast actually probably took the points in that quarter as far as how they played, without actually putting enough scoreboard pressure on for the amount of good work they did.
Yeah, look, I agree. They certainly had a bit of work to do, because North Melbourne certainly dominated that first quarter, particularly in the second half of that first quarter, and the disparity, particularly in possession count, their ability to hold that possession, and that translated into inside 50s, certainly gave them some opportunity on the scoreboard. West Coast were very good. They did close that gap as far as that inside 50s. They actually won the inside 50s in that quarter 15-8, and certainly pulled back the gap in the possession count. But as you alluded to, 1 goal 7, not to make too much of it, but this has been West Coast's problem, or sort of bugbear all year, their ability to kick goals, when the pressure's on and when they need them the most. And once again, a 1 goal 7 return, particularly for what were some easy shots, particularly set shots from Cox and Lacroix, is really, really hurting them, particularly during that quarter when North Melbourne were able to absorb that pressure and then go down the other end and actually score. I'm really impressed with North Melbourne tonight. I think a few of these knocks and scrapes and injuries that West Coast are actually getting because there's some seriously hard committed bodies out there from North Melbourne tonight. They're maintaining the lead in the second half. They absorbed everything that West Coast threw at them in that quarter, and we're in for a very, very good second half of football.
Thank you to James and to Ken. North Melbourne 7-4-46. The Eagles are 4-9-33. A lead of 13 points to the visitors. The Kangaroos will be happy with where they are right at this moment. Plenty more to come here on Grandstand AFL. In just a few moments, we'll have the Sports Wrap with Brett Sprigg. A couple of one-sided results in the NRL to certainly bring you up to date with. But for the moment, let's now take the latest from the ABC Newsroom. Great to have you at Subiaco Oval, Clint Wilden in commentary as we see North Melbourne just about to make their way back out onto the ground. They lead by 13 points. The Kangaroos 7-4-46 to the West Coast Eagles 4-9-33. Having a look at the leading disposal winners for the West Coast Eagles, Scott Selwood with 14. Rosa, Waters and Prittis all with 13 apiece. Gaff has 11, Kerr with 10, while for North Melbourne, Wells with 14, Hanson 13, so too Harvey. Mullet and Ferrito, 12 disposals apiece. Cunnington and Atley have had 11 touches. Swallow, McMahon and Thompson all with 10 each. Disposals overall, certainly going with North Melbourne, 173 to 160. The clearances, the way of North Melbourne, 17 to 14. Inside 50s, North's way, 30 to 24. The tackles, the way of the Eagles, 29 to 15. Hitouts, Dean Cox with 11, Naitanui with 9 for West Coast, Goldstein with 11 and Dorr with 3. Hanson's got 1-2 for North Melbourne. But on the scoreboard is what matters. North Melbourne leading by 13 points. Corbin Middlemass.
The Roos have now led 6 out of their 8 games so far. So out of the 5 completed games, 3 times they've gone on to win, and twice they've coughed up a lead at the main change. They lead by 13 points here after 1 goal apiece in that second term. Second half quarters, 7 apiece. Well, 7 wins and 7 losses for both these teams, the West Coast Eagles and North Melbourne in the second halves so far throughout 2013. James Clement and Ken Judge are here on Grandstand AFL. And gentlemen, what are you expecting in this second half of football?
Well, I think, as I said, West Coast just need to tidy up their finishing, because had they taken their advantages or the opportunities they had in that second quarter, they would have possibly been in front, or certainly back to about level with North, but they didn't. And as we know in footy, you leave the door open and often it comes back to haunt you. And so I think that's a concern from West Coast point of view, to sort of make the most and finish off their game a little bit better. Notice Jacob Brennan's coming to the bench here, which makes you wonder how he's that hit in the head, how he is with that hit in the head. And from North's point of view, they've had a chance at half time to go back and probably Brad Scott, I would suggest, would be just reinforcing how they played in the second half of that first quarter, where they were just really hard at the ball, 1 contested possessions, 1 clearances, did all that sort of all those sort of things that give your forwards a chance to kick a winning score. West Coast certainly lifted in that area in the second quarter, but that's what he'd be appealing to his players, to get back to the game. And I think he'd be suggesting to them, there's a few blokes here that are sore from West Coast. Don't back off with our intensity, and we might just be able to really really put them under some pump in the running area. And if we can knock, if we've knocked the edge off a couple of them.
Yeah, look, I concur, and I think we're going to see a very close second half of football. What you're going to see from North Melbourne is, we do know that they're the most efficient team in the competition. You want to see that possession count out, maintaining that possession, and on that basis just clean entry inside 50. Get that inside 50 dominance up that we saw in the first quarter, and obviously be able to finish off. West Coast obviously addressed that, particularly in that second quarter. Their forward press was absolutely sensational, and their ability to lock it in. And North Melbourne looked under pressure. While they did absorb that pressure, it gave West Coast plenty of opportunity. We saw them kick 1 goal 7. They didn't take their opportunity, so more from West Coast as far as locking that ball inside 50, and hopefully for West Coast this time, being able to convert a bit better than they did in that second quarter. But, as I said, it's going to be a very good and very close game of football in this second half.
Clint Thomas is amongst it downstairs. CT.
Yeah, Corbin, the conditions are still quite fine down here. There's no real grease. It's still quite warm, and it's there was a low of 11 forecast earlier on this afternoon, but it looks like it's staying pretty mild here down at ground level. Also, there's a little bit of rain forecast later on in the evening, but that seems to be a fair way off, so good conditions still down here at ground level.
Clint Thomas on the boundary. North Melbourne haven't made their subbers yet. Sam Gibson still in green. The sub has already happened for West Coast. Sharad Wellingham with a suspected ankle injury. Brad Shepherd is into the game.
I still reckon there's a chance CT can get rained on tonight. 50% chance, would you say?
Yep. He either will or he won't.
Can only hope. I love seeing those blokes that are just so finely dressed down there, sitting on the boundary line when it just gets a little bit of
very sharp
precipitation on them.
Yeah. The male model from Mullaloo, or thereabouts.
North Melbourne by 13 points as we're underway in the second half. The Rucks go at it. Goldstein wins it down, and firmly too, but Naitanui turned around, went after it, tapped it in the direction of Adam Selwood. He couldn't take it. Wells picks it up for the Kangaroos, sends it long inside attacking 50, wanted Dorr. Punch at the back came from Schofield, spills down to right. He's got it for North in the left forward pocket. Tries the centering pass. He wanted Zeeble. He goes to ground, and free kick will go to Daniel Kerr. Zeeble brought Daniel Kerr to ground, so he's got it for West Coast between fullback and centre half back. Kerr back in the sign for the Eagles this week.
Was well played then by Kerr.
Kicks long beyond defensive 50. McKenzie
poor checking by Dorr.
Hands it off to Pritis. Eagles with it now through Gaff. Kicks down the line. He wants Shuey. He marks just inside the boundary. Shy of left half forward. The kick, though, was poor. Thomas went out after it. Couldn't tap it down. Wells, rather, I beg your pardon. At the back, though, Scott Selwood able to gather. Gave it on in turn to Marston. Now he found Pritis. Kicks inside the forward 50. At full forward, Kennedy went. He couldn't mark. Umpire spots a free kick for a push. It's going the way of North Melbourne. Right back to McMahon, who stands in front of the right-hand goalpost for the Kangaroos, who lead by 13 points. Opening minute, third term at Subi. Best clubman last year, Scott McMahon at North Melbourne. Goes long out towards half-back. Naitanui couldn't mark. Spills down to Mullet. His kick goes along the boundary line. And Petrie helps it over the line. Boundary throwing. $13 points the margin. The Roos over the Eagles. Opening 90 seconds of the second half. Naitanui and Goldstein. Goldstein bumps it down. Swallow comes away with a footy. Sells some candy around Kerr and then kicks down towards half forward. Oh, big one-hander trying to reel it in. It was Black. Come down with the footy, but did a good effort. Here's Glass. Hand passes to Waters. Back to Glass. Glass out of the defensive 50 by hand to Kerr. Ugly kick off the side of the boot. Makes its way to Scott Selwood, who marks just inside the paint. In game 100 tonight. Spots Kennedy upfield. Awkward half volley. He overruns it. Picked up here by Scott Thompson for the Roos. Hand pass inboard to Swallow. Stepping around Naitanui. Lays a hand pass away towards Bastanak as his kick goes down to centre half forward. The mark taken by Hearn.
Got to use it better going forward than that, North. It's just bombing away.
Hearn spots up Adam Selwood, who marks it right half back for West Coast. Gets told to play on, so heads back inside his defensive 50. Uncontested mark to McKenzie. Waits for Waters to run behind him, gives him the hand pass. Waters kicks beyond defensive 50 towards left half back. Cunnington takes the mark.
Gee, it was a nice mark.
Strong Cunnington from the side.
The big fella Madjack never looked like getting near it.
Nope. Cunnington, though, turns it over. He wanted to try and find Black, but floating across in front, or probably more with a lot of space, was Hearn. Yep, that's right, Ken, as the kick is inside the centre square, and he finds Naitanui. Naitanui puts it to the outer side. With it is Adam Selwood. Stops, props, thinks about what to do, spears the pass to right half forward. Kennedy on the lead and he marks. Kennedy for West Coast, wheels around, heads into the right forward pocket, and the push going against Shuey.
That was a full extension.
Yeah, there were two actions there.
Free kick to Mullet. He's in the left back pocket for North Melbourne. So Mullet initially uses it well. He kicks the ball straight into oncoming traffic. Shuey lays the smother in the end. The ball's out of bounds in the forward pocket for the Eagles.
An interesting theory before, James, about Shuey. He's come back like a man that's They've not got much wrong with him.
Goldstein reaching from the back. Unkind bounce for Swallow. Spills down to Marston, who kicks the goal from the pocket. Marston with his first. He joins the long list of goal kickers. Now, there has been 12 goals kicked in the match, and there's been 12 individual goal kickers. The Eagles back within 7 points. They kicked the first goal of the second half. West Coast 5-9-39. They still trail North Melbourne 7-4-46. It's the visitors by 7 points.
Well, that's certainly what West Coast needed. They did need to get that first major score on the board, and they've done that. A little bit of luck as well, reversing that form of 1-7 in that second quarter. Pretty traditional way. Great snap by Maston. So a beautiful finish. West Coast making it the tight game that we're expecting in this second half.
Bit stiff. Swallow made the play and got a bad bounce.
Bounce again in the centre. Both rucks went at it. Naitanui went a bit early. Goldstein won it down. Swallow couldn't get away from the Marston tackle. He's wrapped him up. Umpire says holding the ball.
Gee, I reckon that's hard.
Absolutely no idea how that's prior opportunity to actually dispose of the ball.
The moment Swallow received it, Marston tackled him. Kick is towards left half forward from Marston. In front, Hansen. Darling was there, neither could mark. Darling picks it up, he's tackled by 2. Ball was held to him, and then as he let his arms free, Cunnington said, I'll have that, and kicked towards centre wing commentary side, and it's over and out of bounds on the full.
That wasn't smart. Andrew Swallows realised the ball's going out in the full and deliberately has punched it into the crowd, so just to buy a bit of time for North. Look, he doesn't make many mistakes, Andrew Swallow, but that'd be one I'd say was a major one for a captain.
And that doesn't look good from a captain, does it?
Yeah, it was 50 metres as well. So Gaff, who was the nearest man to it, he gets the free kick.
You kick this?
He'll put boot to ball from right on 50. It's a 45-degree angle left of centre. The kick's on its way. Starts out left. Missing left. Minor score. Clint Thomas's boundary side.
Just a quick one, lads. Scott Thompson's on report for that clash with Matt Roser at the 3-minute mark of the second quarter.
Short kick into half-back. Here's Hatley. Hatley goes back across the goal mouth to Thompson, who marks in the right back pocket for the Roos. He'll come out to half-back. McMillan in front takes a strong mark in front of Gaff. Margin back to 6 points. 7-4 plays 5-10. The Eagles inaccurate again. Back inboard to Hansen. And North Melbourne will work it round towards the outer side now. Back to Atley. Left half-back. Short kick out of the defensive 50 to Grimer. His brother Alex in his second year at South Fremantle, playing over here in the WAFL. From a AFL listed player himself on the Hawks rookie list. Here's Nathan Grimer. A long kick down the outer wing. Looking for Petrie. Spills down though straight to glass the Eagles. Hand pass away to Shuey. Shuey just forward of the wing. Gets back onto his right boot. Kicks inside 50. Darling caught at the back. Thompson went to ground. Kennedy attacks the footy. Comes out with it. Gets a kick bouncing goalward. Needs a kind bounce. It's through for a behind. West Coast to 5-11. North Melbourne 7-4. The Roos still by 5 points. 7 minutes into the third term.
Bit of nervousness around Subi at the moment as Hansen takes the kicking duties and he thumps it long towards left half back. Naitanui flew early, couldn't mark it. Off hands, it's down to the Roos. Cunnington got a hand pass to Adams. Sweeps a hand pass forward. Working it out, Atley, hand passing it on to Thomas, who's got space to run into it, left half forward, takes 2 bounces, 60 out, sells the dummy, got inside glass, kicks towards full 40, wants Dorr, who marks! At last!
The big fella. He can actually catch it. He's caught one tonight. The others he didn't look like getting anywhere near. But that was a good mark. He was under a bit of pressure too, so it was a nice mark.
He was, and it was a bit fumbly, but very nice mark. Let's just hope for his sake that he finishes it off now. Obviously going to be an important goal for North Melbourne. Put a little bit more breathing room between them and West Coast that have been coming hard at them.
He's got a longer run up than Dennis Ely. He has. Have a look where he's coming from.
Had to mark it at the second effort. Mad Jack Dorr. Long run up. Kick is through for a goal. He takes it quite in his stride as he makes his way back to the middle of the ground. But he's given North Melbourne their 8th of the nights. North's lead back out to 11 points. The Kangaroos are 8-4-52. The Eagles 5-11-41. 8.5 gone third term on Grandstand AFL. Clint Wilden, Corbin Middlemass, and our experts Ken Judge and James Clement.
Well, it was a great finish by Dore, and obviously a little bit of pressure on him coming into this game. Some great expectations, not only from the crowd, but obviously up here in the box. So great to see him get his hands on the ball and finish with a goal, and a very important goal in the context of the game. But gee, the finish of Thomas to actually get around Glass, who doesn't often get candy sold to him.
13 individual goal scorers tonight. Back in the middle, Cox takes it out the ruck as Dore flew early. Kicks down towards centre half forward for the Eagles. Unkind bounce for Shepherd. Atley reads it the best. Flares the kick wide. Mark taken by Bastanak.
You know, I don't know if I haven't seen enough of him in the ruck, Magic, but he's a 2-foot jumper in the ruck. You can't do that.
As Bastanak goes down towards Zeeble. Scott Selwood got the punch in. Zeeble went up, led with the knee, was tackled by Marston. The ball jarred free. Scott Selwood looking for a free
You know
kick.
what? I would actually penalise him there. He's thrown his head back to try and pretend he's got a free. It annoys me. I've got to tell you. I'd say, listen, you're trying to milk free kicks. There's a free kick against you.
Well, we had the staging rule, I think, year before last, and that seems to have just faded out of the game. For the boundary throw in.
But he got tackled around the middle and threw his head back.
Yep. Here's Adam Selwood, picks the footy up off the deck. Heavy tackle laid by Dore. Ball jarred free. Zeeble had it, then lost it. Now a chance for Kerr. He's clipped high. Free kick against Thomas. Plays on off his knees. Hand pass away to Gaff. Kicks down towards half forward. There's a bit going on behind the play. Offhand, spills down towards Kennedy. 1-2 on the hand pass with McGrath. Back to Kennedy. He could have ran straight in. Decided to kick across the body and misses out towards the right. There's a player down on the wing. You're going to have to fill me in, gentlemen. That's a behind for the Eagles.
I'll tell you what, Thomas got put down at very, very hard behind play.
So 5 goals to West Coast. North Melbourne 8-4.
Shuey.
Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
I don't know if a great deal was in it. Lindsay Thomas was obviously on the ground, but I think it was either Adam Selwood or another Eagles player that sort of slung him to the ground, but I don't think there was too much malice in it.
Well, there's been a free kick paid, so the score won't count for Kennedy, and he'll have a set shot as a result. 45-degree angle, and a kick from about 45 metres out, so a second go at it for the Eagles. Lindsay Thomas now off the ground. Goalless tonight so far. Hasn't been all season. Stuttering approach. Kennedy set shot. He's got his second. The Eagles back within a goal. 11-minute mark, third term. There's a bit happening. 6-11-47, the West Coast Eagles. They trail North Melbourne 8-4-52. 5 points the margin, still in favour of the Kangaroos. Grandstand AFL Friday night footy, round 8. With James Clement and Ken Judge.
Well, Kennedy's certainly in rare kicking form, and he's the one West Coast player that can certainly put his hand up and say that he's on the right side of the ledger as far as goals and points. An important goal, once again, just to keep them in the game. And he's certainly put on one of his best twinkle toes performances running into that goal. It's probably some of the best work I've seen him do.
Actually, it was certainly more than usual, wasn't it? I think it was a double dose that time. It was.
Goldstein wins the tap in the centre down to Swallow. Got the hand pass away to the Kangaroos and found Zeeble. Kicks towards Ryan half forward. Out after it, Black. Gathered nicely. Hand passed onto Harvey. Runs it right half forward. Has to kick hurriedly off the left. It bounced inside the attacking 50. Scooped up by Hearn for the Eagles. Towards centre wing. Comes off the boot of Darling. Heads back towards the boundary line and just spins over. Throwing at the interchange gates of West Coast.
Talking about Harvey earlier in the game, he looks to have lost no pace, even at 35 years of age. Incredible.
Front position, Naitanui at the back. Goldstein had the more telling touch. Natanui's kick went into the side of Goldstein. Came back towards Marston. Marston moves it on. Now this is Shepherd. Shepherd gets legged. He'll get the free kick.
It's a professional free kick.
He got past Ferrito. Ferrito diving forward. Did trip him.
It was a professional free kick because he was away. He would have been shooting from 35 metres out, maybe even closer if he kept going.
Well, look,
and now it's a 50-metre plus kick.
Outside of the injury potentials, quite smart play. And I mean, is that deemed deliberate? Is that the kind of thing that's reportable? Well, the umpire was right there.
Was with the arm, or hand rather, of Ferrito. But still, So the free kick is taken by Shepherd. Will the kick have the distance? It won't. Lands in the goal square. Tempted snap up in the air from LaCroix. Mullet goes flying up 2 there for North Melbourne. It's off hands and through for another minor score. West Coast 6-12-48. North 8-4-52. It's a 4-point lead now for the Kangaroos.
McMahon's short to Thompson, who marks in the back pocket. This is Grimer, in fact. Nathan Grimer in the back pocket. He goes long to a contest. Petrie to target. Hearn floats through at the back and marks uncontested. The crowd calling for him to go all the way. He'll have to kick it all of 70 metres. He loads up the Tory and kicks towards the top of the goal square. Going back is Hansen. He takes the mark. Cox held out of it, calling for a free kick.
I often think it looks great. The crowd loves the big Tory, but it's waste of possession and isn't to the advantage of your teammates.
Short to Swallow. Swallow plays on quickly. Hand pass over the top to Atley. Kicks it out wide, looking for Black. Wilson the juggling mark again. He's been solid tonight, Aaron Black, when the ball's gone in his direction. This is a kick backwards. There's 2 North Melbourne players. They left it for each other. Cox takes possession and then he's taken high. A free kick to Cox now at half forward. He'll play on, get back around on his right boot from 51 metres out, goes for home, and he's off target. Missing to the far side. The Eagles 6-13. North Melbourne are 8-4. Still the Roos by 3 points midway through the third term.
The Eagles haven't led since the 22-minute mark of the opening term when North hit the front. Their lead's 3 points as they go beyond their defensive 50 to right half back. Taken though off the ground. Marston on towards LaCroix. Grubbers a kick to Shuey. Spins around from 49 out. Puts it long towards goal and kicks the goal. They're back in front, West Coast. 7-13-55. North 8-4-52. It's the Eagles by 3. Shuey with the goal.
Well, Shuey summed that up pretty well. He had the opportunity to turn inside and just feed it off to Gaff, but saw that there was plenty of room in front of him. Obviously had the peace of mind just to take his time, a few more steps, kick through it. Obviously slotted once again a very important goal for West Coast.
Back-to-back goals for the first time since the opening 5 minutes of the game. The Eagles back in front by 3 points. 7-13, plays 8-4. It'll be Naitanui and Dorr in the middle. Naitanui palms it in the direction of Scott Selwood. Doesn't take it cleanly. He's now tackled by Zeeble. Scott Selwood and brother Adam tonight, along with Troy and Joel. They become the 11th set of brothers, the Selwoods, to reach the 500 game mark in AFL VFL history. From the restart, McMillan charges through. He's tackled. Umpire holds on the whistle and now calls for another bounce inside the centre circles. Umpire Meredith restarts play. Naitanui keeps Dorr out of it, palms it down to Kerr. Tumbling kick forward, picked up by Mullet. He's dispossessed. Harvey for the Roos. Hand pass back to Atley, run down from behind. Tackler was Darling, advantage applied. Shepherd gave it to Marston, who went without it. Slipped through his hands, picked up by Harvey at halfback. Short kick to the North captain in Swallow. Hand pass back to Harvey. By hand to Wells in the middle of Subiaco Oval. Kicks long inside 50. Thomas one-on-one with Hearn. Hearn went to punch. No free kick for Thomas. He becomes the tackler on McKenzie. The footy comes out. Holding the ball is the decision. The umpire's called advantage.
No advantage.
Wanting to go on with it is Bastanak. Kicks across the body. Off hands, it's through for a behind.
You can't have a pregnant pause and then a bloke stops and looks at it and then say it's an advantage. I mean, that's a set shot. That's a set shot from 40 metres. They call advantage to a bloke. God, no idea, these blokes.
Margin back to 2 points. The Eagles over the Roos.
Kerr has got it for West Coast. Got it from the kick in from Hearn. Now Kerr beyond defensive 50 wants Prittis, takes the mark right up against the boundary. I agree completely with what Ken said. There was no advantage there to be had for North Melbourne.
But when there's a stop, you can't just then call advantage.
Hill's got it, outer wing. Hurry kick inside attacking 50. Flying's Mullet. Free kick is going the way of the Kangaroos. It's a holding decision. It's going to Hansen. He's got it between fullback and centre half back for North Melbourne. whose supporters have every right to feel a little bit of aggrieved with a couple of decisions so far tonight. Hand pass to Thompson, hand pass to Harvey. Cunnington spears one through the middle, diving across, unable to mark was Petrie. Spills out to McKenzie for West Coast, moves it on to Shepherd on centre wing. Brennan runs behind him, receives the hand pass, tempted smothered by Harvey, but he's still got the kick away. Good running and tackling from the Eagles. Thompson was caught by Kennedy. It's holding the ball, and Kennedy has the free kick at left half forward.
Good pressure from Kennedy.
So the tackling up forward from West Coast in the last 5 minutes has been brilliant.
Kennedy pops it up to the forward pocket. Hill to fly from the back, and he's got it. Josh Hill, leaping high, takes a strong contested mark in the left forward pocket. The boundary line will only be about 2 metres in on his left-hand side. Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
North Melbourne has activated their sub, Sam Gibson, into the game, and Majak Dor has been subbed out.
They broke a record, Majak Dor. He became not only is he a pioneer as a Sudanese refugee, he also became the first man to be subbed out in his first 3 games of AFL football. And so now that's 4 out of the first 5. Here's the kick from Josh Hill. Left forward pocket, right side for a right footer, and he slotted it through. The Eagles extend the margin. They've kicked the last 3 in the game as we approach time on in the third term. West Coast 8-13-61. North Melbourne 8-5-53. The Eagles by 8 points, Clint.
And some real problems too for Will Schofield as he makes his way off the ground. See if CT's got any more details down there. Clint.
Yeah, busy day for the Eagles medical staff. It looks like a left arm injury. Not quite sure if it's the wrist or the shoulder or the elbow, but definitely a left arm injury for Will Schofield. He's up the race for the Eagles.
Had to take him the long way around to West Coast. I think you're right.
They're in some trouble, North. West Coast are in with the health of some of their players, but they're actually standing up to it pretty well. North, if he's got an issue, might work in North's favour.
Poor bounce, and this time.
What was different to that one before? That's exactly the same place it went.
Well, that's okay. He's just learn his lesson this time around.
Oh, it's wonderful, yes.
But that's the argument. Just because you got it wrong the first time, at least they got it right this time. Brought it back a second time. Tap was won down by Goldstein. Gave it to Cunnington. Kicks North Melbourne long inside the attacking 50. Able to take the mark was Hearn. Spilled down to Petrie. From 51 out, he puts it long towards goal. Misses to the right-hand side. Eagles lead reduced to 7 points. They're 8-13. North Melbourne 8-6 as we tick into time on in the third term.
Hearn kicks to himself and goes out to halfback. Cocks the target. He's on the end of it. One of the 4 All-Australians from last year for West Coast, all playing tonight for the first time in 2012. As Cox goes long to a contest. Plenty of players around this ball. At the back, waiting is Grimer. There was a little nudge. He takes the mark.
Back as well.
Nathan Grimer with the footy. He'll come inboard. Lee Adams marks inside the centre square. We'll slow it down. Alongside the centre circles, Adams kicks inside the forward 50. Big leap at the back from Black. Standing underneath it is Brennan.
So that was a good mark from Brennan. Very good mark.
Involved in a heavy collision earlier with Sam Wright. He's up and looks to be okay. His kick comes out to Kerr. He's outnumbered. Kerr is just hanging onto McMahon. That'll be holding the ball. Free kick to Daniel Kerr. Left half back for the Eagles. Comes out wide with the kick. Shuey takes the mark inside the interchange gates. The Eagles by 7 points, 22.5 minutes into the third term. He straightens up with the kick and Rosa takes the mark.
Kerr comes off the ground for West Coast. Rosa's kick is towards the interchange gates. Bending down on one knee and marking was Brennan. He plays on, spearing the ball into the left forward pocket. It carries a pack of players who'll get there first. Scott Selwood does. Strongly tackled by Zeeble. Did really well to wrap him up. The hand pass taken by Grimer along the ground and he picks it up for North Melbourne. His kick tries to find Swallow. It does just. Swallow has to dive forward towards the flight of the football and he marks, but still just inside his defensive 50.
Gee, that was a dangerous kick. It came off, but put some pressure on.
Swallow elects to switch play out to Hansen in the left back pocket. Sweeps a hand pass forward. This is Gibson. Has to get rid of it really quickly.
Great Eagles pressure. Kick was pretty good though too. Cunnington marks for the Kangaroos. Down the outer wing to Ferrito. Marks on his chest. Steps inside an opponent. Sends it into the right forward pocket. He wanted Black. Couldn't mark. Spills down though to right. Couldn't pick it up cleanly. Has to try and get it again. It's through the legs of Petrie. He's just standing over the top, straddling the football at the moment. Got it out to right. He was tackled and lost possession. Pritis slaps it back. It spills down again to Black, who turns and snaps and goals. His second. Desperation inside their forward 50 for North. They just would not give up and eventually were rewarded with 6 points. The Eagles lead back to 1 point. It's West Coast 8-13-61, North 9-6-60, 23 and a bit gone. Third term on Grandstand AFL from Subiaco.
Well, it just stayed there for long enough with a few tunnel balls and a few mishandles and whatever. It just stayed there for long enough, and eventually Black got on the end of it and kicked a nice goal. So it keeps them in touch, North. And, West Coast Schofield's down the room still, so they're down to 2 players on the bench. Depending on how bad he is. As I said, this last quarter could be interesting with down a player or 2.
It'll be Naitanui and Goldstein in the middle. Bounce famous Goldstein. Palms it away, looking to try and find Cunnington, who overruns it. Now he's tackled by Pritis, taken to ground. Umpire hovering the back. There it is.
She'll love it.
So Pritis, the middle of the ground as they all push forward.
Sometimes you wonder whether it's worth winning the ball, don't you?
Pritis goes out towards half forward.
The actual principle of the game is to try and win the ball, and sometimes you think, don't win it.
Kennedy lost his footing, the mark was taken.
Maybe he might be able to throw it to you and I'll goal tackle you.
North Melbourne will work it out. Gibson, short to Wells, then to Gibson again. Hand pass away towards McMillan, just inside the paint. Beyond halfway to Goldstein, working along the boundary line here in front of us. Goldstein to Zeeble. Zeeble kicks long into space. Black takes the mark. Right forward pocket, he kicked the last. He's got 2 tonight, Aaron Black. He has a chance to go back and put the Roos back in front.
He's got a little bit of X factor, Blake.
Yeah,
his work rate has been really impressive for a guy of his age, and just held his lead back enough for that to lead into that fat space behind his opponent. He didn't put himself right on the boundary. It was smart footy.
Just in the 8th game of his career, he's first at Subiaco tonight, and he's got 3 goals. Before 3/4 time, Aaron Black with his 3rd, and the Roos are back in front at the 26-minute mark. 10-6-66. North Melbourne lead the West Coast Eagles 8-13-61. North Melbourne by 5 points.
Well, for those listening at home that couldn't actually see any footage for that, that was a beautiful finish.
Yep.
And 2 set shots that he's had right now from difficult angles and a fair way out haven't even looked like missing. He's a beautiful set shot for goal. Playing extremely well, and 2 goals back-to-back now, which has been instrumental in getting North Melbourne back in front.
3 goals to Aaron Black, as Corbin said, from Peel Thunder, but taken at pick 25 in the 09 National Draft. Tonight,
I agree with James. He has got an X factor about him. I can understand now why Brad Scott likes him.
Naitanui won the tap down. It was taken by Shuey to Pritis, back to Shuey. Long kick towards centre half forward. Leading out and marking was Darling for West Coast. Puts it into the right forward pocket. He wanted Kennedy, worked underneath it by Ferrito. The ball bounces. Back left pocket for the Kangaroos. Ferrito picks it up. No, he doesn't. It was just over the boundary line. It'll be a throw-in instead.
Well, that's what you got to do as a backman sometimes when the bloke's a bit taller on you, is just to edge him under the ball. Not edge him actually with arms or anything, just using your chest to push him under it, and that's what he did, Ferrito.
Naitanui won the tap. Scott Selwood out after it. Couldn't take it. Spills down towards Lacroix. He'll snap. It's an open goal square, but it bounces to the right-hand side. Wasn't far away again. Lacroix's now got 4 behinds. 1 goal, 4 for Mark Lacroix. North's lead is now 4 points. Schofield still down in the room to suspected dislocated finger after Wellingham has already been subbed out earlier with fearing an ankle injury there for Sharrett. Long kick out towards half back and off hands. It's out for a boundary throw in at half forward. On top of that, some shoulder concerns earlier for Luke Shuey. Heavy collisions for both Brennan and Adam Selwood. Leading the wars a bit tonight, the West Coast Eagles. For the boundary throw in, Naitanui palms it down, follows up his own footy, hand pass out wide to Shuey. His kick slips off the side of the boot. Kennedy claiming the mark. It's out of bounds on the full. The ruse to bring it back into play in the back pocket. Nathan Grimer. He's tied up by 4 points as we tick towards three-quarter time. A long kick from Grimer. Naitanui in from the side, takes the mark. On the broadcast wing, the All-Australian ruckman. He'll send the Eagles long inside their attacking 50. Kennedy again the target. Plenty of North Melbourne players around. Wells went the punch. It's out of bounds in the left forward pocket for West Coast. They trail by 4 points. 29 minutes played in the third term.
Can't be long till three-quarter time. Less than a minute or so. Goldstein wins it down. Prittis got his arms free. Back to Lacroix. Tried to get away from Swallow. Couldn't do so. North Melbourne are able to pick up the footy. Gibson gave it on to Ferrito. Thumps it long, and that's a good mark. Backing back at pace was Petrie. Hit the ground after he took the footy.
Till he had the ball moving. Too slow.
He does wait.
Well, West Coast are going to get all the players back here now.
He does. Kick long and high towards right half forward. Underneath it was Swallow. Punched away from him by Rosa and out for a boundary throw.
Not only was he slow moving, he's then kicked it that high, it came down with snow on it.
Sometimes you just got to take a risk.
Well,
kick that ball in front of your running players.
Forward, that's right.
Kick it to advantage, get them to run it.
And that's where their best footy's been tonight.
Ball back into play. Punched down by Goldstein, but it tumbles back towards the boundary line. It'll be a throw-in. Kennedy with 2 goals. Black with 3. They're the leading goal kickers, both for West Coast and for the Kangaroos, as Goldstein wrestles with Cox. Won it down at the back, came out towards Wells. Has a bit of space to work into now, Wells, and from right half forward, he puts it towards full forward. Ball bounces. Brennan slaps it towards the boundary line. He'll see it over. Umpires say it's a throw-in. Came racing out of full back, Jacob Brennan. The aim was just to tap it away from his own defensive goal square. Was happy to get the throw in. And that is three-quarter time. North Melbourne, they've led at every change so far. It was 17 points at quarter time, 13 points at half time. It is now 4 points at three-quarter time. North Melbourne 10-6-66 to the West Coast Eagles 8-14-62. Looking at the goal kickers, Black leads the way for North Melbourne. He's kicked 3. The rest are all singles. Cunnington, Petrie, Harvey, Wells, Thompson, Wright and Dorr. While for the West Coast Eagles, Kennedy is their only multiple goal kicker. He's kicked 2 goals, 1. Lacroix has 1 goal, 4. Cox with a single goal. So too Shuey, Hill, Darling and Marston. North Melbourne by 4 points. Three-quarter time from Subiaco. This is Grandstand AFL. Can North Melbourne hold on? They lead by 4 points as we head into the final quarter. But first, let's get the thoughts of our Grandstand AFL experts, Subiaco. They're Ken Judge and James Clement.
Yeah, well, James, West Coast, they've showed great spirit here, I reckon, and courage, because I reckon they're a bit banged up, to be honest, and they've hung in, and when you consider since quarter time, they've kicked 5 goals, 12, so they've said 17 scoring shots to 4-5 from North for 9 scoring shots. They really have, had they been able to have kicks straighter, they should be in front, and perhaps 2 or 3 goals in front, which would give them a fair bit of confidence going into this last quarter. But we look up and they're 4 points behind, which is not insurmountable, obviously. But North would be West Coast would be thinking, we've pretty well outplayed these blokes in this last couple of quarters, but the scoreboard's not reflecting that. North, on the other hand, would be thinking, these blokes should have been in front of us. They've thrown everything at us. If we can just find something and lift a bit in this last quarter. As we said, Schofield's gone to the rooms. I don't think he's come back out here. So they're down to 2 players on the bench now. Whether they've kept Schofield out for long enough that it's not going to impact on them, I don't know. But the thing is, if you can throw some fresh players into the mix here North, it might be something that works in their favour in this last quarter because, as I said, they're a bit banged up, West Coast, and they keep hanging in, so it's a credit to them. They've shown good spirit. And North, on the other hand, all those key indicators we speak about often, which is those clearances and first possession, West Coast have got back on top in all those areas, so that they're getting they're winning the ball, they're just not getting the return on the scoreboard.
No, that's certainly true. I mean, before the game we thought that statistically two teams that were very, very hard to separate. And I just mean, looking at these basic statistics, I'm talking, possessions and inside 50s and handball receives and things like that. The only discernible difference is the tackle count with West Coast Eagles right in front there. So once again, coming into this last quarter, very, very hard to split. I think it is going to be a war of attrition. I think the West Coast Eagles injury toll will certainly hurt, particularly when they had probably the longest road trip in the AFL, and that's going from Perth to Brisbane, and now that's certainly got to weigh on them coming into this last quarter, obviously coupled with the fact that they've only got 2 fit guys on the bench. I still think we're going to have a sensational last quarter. Eagles need to start converting their opportunities. Their point count, once again, as it has been for the most of the season, they certainly haven't been able to capitalise on their opportunities. If they can do that, I think West Coast should be able to win. If not, North Melbourne should hold this very slim lead and take the win.
In terms of possessions for West Coast, Pritis best on the ground with 20, Scott Selwood 17, Kerr with 16, Shuey 15, so too Marston, Waters with 15. While for the Kangaroos, Harvey with 19, Wells 18, Cunnington and Hanson 17 apiece, Thompson and Atley and Swallow 2, all with 16. Disposals leading the way, North Melbourne 247 to 231. Inside 50s belong to the Kangaroos 41 to 39. Clearances to West Coast now 24 to 23. Clint Thomas, you're down on the boundary line, leaning over. Is it still just 2 fit blokes on the Eagles bench?
Yeah, just confirming. No sign of Will Schofield yet. He went down the race halfway through that third quarter. We still haven't seen him. And, of course, Sharad Wellingham was subbed off in the second term with a left ankle injury.
Final term underway. North Melbourne lead by 4 points. Goldstein won the tap, but Naitanui wrestles the footy free. Got a hand pass away. Picked up by Wells, though. He's tackled. Now he's lost it. Darling thumps it forward. Head over the footy is Grimer. Pack forms. Slips out the back to Swallow. 1-2 by hand with Goldstein. And Swallow kicks a very high ball. Still inside the centre square. And jumping was Thomas. Couldn't come down with it. Spills down towards Shuey. Another Eagle is left lying face down on the surface. Here's North Melbourne through Harvey. Takes the mark. Lays it off by hand. Kick inside the attacking 50 from Atley. Black juggling. Couldn't take the mark. Picks it up off the deck. Hand pass away towards Gibson. Gibson goes back by hand to Siebel. Breaks through the tackle and Siebel kicks the goal. North Melbourne kicked the first of the final term. Inside the opening 60 seconds, North Melbourne 11-6. They lead West Coast to a 8-14. The margin out to 10 points. Grandstand AFL, Ken Judge and James Clement.
I reckon Bo Waters is not too good now either.
No.
They are really getting banged up here, West Coast, and this is only working in North's favour. Look, they've been hard at the ball, North, but they've just had some heavy collisions, West Coast, and they've got a few players that are a bit sick and sorry for themselves at the moment.
Well, I think you've got to give it to North Melbourne. The other end of the collision is a North Melbourne player, and they are committed. And as I said, committed, hard bodies. They have thrown everything at West Coast, and part of that banged up injury toll that West Coast is experiencing is on the receiving end from North Melbourne.
Waters still staying out there at the moment. You know how hard a player he is, and he was certainly groggy a few moments ago. Goldstein wins the tap. Zeeble takes possession. Hurried kick is up in the air. Sliding onto his knees to take the mark is Gaff for West Coast. Just on his defensive side of halfway. Heads towards the line, go outer wing. Scott Selwood marks. McMillan stands in front of him. Scott Selwood elects to go on a bit of a run. Thomas tries to close him down. Scott Selwood got the kick away. Inside attacking 50. No mark could be taken. Pritis just tried to knock it out. Interfered with by Thompson, who just sits on top of the football. Eventually works it out between a couple of other players. Umpire lurks. Decides he'll ball it up.
Not to make too much of it. The umpires, obviously tonight, are being a bit more lax with his hands in the backhand pushing rule. They have been very consistently looking after guys that have been pushing players.
And the tap was down to Bastanak. Got a hand pass that went straight to his opposite, number 3, in Gaff. On to Adam Selwood. Kicks towards full forward. That's a terrific mark from Hill. Under some real pressure too, was able to drag it in. He can go back and shoot on goal from right in front and from about 35 metres out. He's already got one tonight. Can he go back and kick a second to bring the Eagles back to within a kick?
This is a big kick for Hill. Should be an easy one. Right in front.
Yeah. Did really well against Mowat. Been able to drag the mark in. Hill's kick is perfect. He's second. West Coast with their first goal of the final term.
They've cut North Melbourne's lead back to 4 points. North are 11-6-72. The Eagles 9-14-68. 3 and a bit gone in the final term.
Well, Hill certainly isn't a prolific player and certainly hasn't been this year, but tonight he's taken 2 very good marks and kicked 2 very important goals to certainly keep West Coast in touch.
So 4 points the margin. The Roos over the Eagles. And it ends the run of 3 successive North Melbourne goals. Hill with his second. Restart back in the middle. Goldstein palms it down straight to Cunnington of the Roos. Kicks them down towards centre half forward. Bouncing footy. Petrie has a hand on it. He goes to ground now. Still over the top of the football. Tackled by McKenzie. Taken to ground. The umpire calls for a bounce. Friday night games this year in 2013. An average margin of 18 points has decided them. The favourite has won 3 and lost 4 from the restart. Goldstein, he's tackled, the footy jarred free. Waters taken off, and Cunnington half pass away to Swallow. 35 out, drills the goal. Andrew Swallow with the quick reply for North Melbourne. The margin back out to 10 points. North 12-6. They lead the West Coast Eagles with 9-14. 10 points the margin, 4.5 minutes played in the final term.
Well, he did well there, Swallow. They just put good pressure on in North. They just had good numbers around the ball, and it was just, a bit of a rolling sort of mass there around that contest, and Swallow got clear on, in all that congestion, and ran through and kicked a goal. It's a good player, Swallow. Gee, good player. Good, very, very good player when there's a lot of congestion around him. He keeps his feet and shows good poise and smarts and all that sort of thing, and did that again there.
Bounce of the footy. Naitanui got 2 hands to it, but won it straight down to Wells of the Kangaroos. Kicks high towards half forward. Ball bounces in front of right. Petrie wins it down. Harvey gathers. Did really well to get a kick away towards full forward. Front position. Great mark coming to Black. Oh. No, not paid. Elects to hand it off though. Cunnington will kick towards goal and miss.
No, the umpire called play on. Umpire called play on.
So was the mark taken? It was touched off the boot.
Touched off the boot.
Yeah. So it's not a mark, which means he had to play on, and the kick was towards goal under hurry. I'm not entirely convinced, having a look at the replay from Harvey, whether or not Scott Selwood did get a touch on it. North Melbourne's lead is now 11 points, 6 gone final term. Hearn to himself, long to Darling, the target. Wrestling with Grimer, slips out the back of the pack. Darling wants to keep it in alongside the boundary line. Jams the kick down to half forward. Kennedy the target. Heavy punch on it from Thompson. Lands in the path of Kerr. Hand pass to Naitanui. Fends one away. He's kick partially smothered. Makes its way over to Shepherd. He hand passes to Kerr. Sweeping hand pass forward to Darling. Gets around 45 metres out. Settles. He just got a hand on him as he kicked it goalward. Great chase from Thompson, affected the kick. It's through for a behind. The margin back to 10 points, 6.5 minutes into the final term. North Melbourne lead West Coast.
Well, that was a good effort by Thompson. I'd have backed Darling to run away from him there. He just put enough pressure on him and got a hand on him to be able to put him off.
Kangaroos from Grimer to Zeeble, now to McMahon. He's got it just beyond his defensive 50. McMahon will kick towards the northern wing. Goldstein marks uncontested. Certainly had the height advantage against Shuey, who somehow ended up standing next to him. Heads into the middle of the ground, finds Hansen, kicks towards centre half forward. Hearn met the footy first for the Eagles, moves it really quickly, finds Kennedy. He can go to the outer wing. Uncontested mark coming the way of Gaff. Gaff kicks inside the attacking 50, sliding out Hill. Mark paid.
Yeah, so I've liked Goldstein's game tonight. I think he's played well. Good to do the lion's share of the ruck work against Cox and Naitanui.
Lets the play on quickly, Hill. Into the left forward pocket goes the kick and he spots Kennedy. So probably a gain of about 10, maybe 12 metres in yardage.
The ball's certainly in the hands of a guy that's in goal kicking form, so the right side for a right footer. Angle isn't too narrow.
He has 26 goals for the season, 2 of them tonight, Josh Kennedy.
It's a pretty important one.
The little stuttering start
The twinkle toes on show. Now he'll kick towards goal. It's on its way. Doesn't have the distance, but Naitanui flies and marks.
I've got to tell you, he's got worse, Kennedy, tonight. He's been more stammery and whatever than I've seen him. I mean, he's kicked the goals before, but that one...
Naitanui from right full forward. He'll go with the outside of the boot. He hits the right-hand goal post. Another minor score to West Coast. North's lead is 9 points now. They're 12-7-79. The Eagles 9-16-70.
We talked about routine earlier, Judgy, in the goal kicking. I'm not sure there is a correct number of steps that Josh takes every time.
Well, that's what I mean. I think he's been really stammery tonight, but he's kicked the goals earlier. But that one, he almost stammered and stopped in the middle of it.
So Mullet is the one in the end to bring it out of the defensive 50 to Hansen, who marks. He'll retreat back to Mullet. 9 points the margin. North Melbourne over West Coast. Kicked 2 goals to 1 for the quarter, the Roos. Goals to Zeeble and Swallow on the run. Hill with the goal for West Coast in this term.
That's a great mark. Under pressure.
Goldstein leading up in front of Cox. Takes a strong mark, lays it off by hand. Here's Mullet. Short kick, close to the boundary line, finds Thompson. Twice runner up in the B&F. Turns and kicks long down towards Petrie. He's the target. They both overrun it. A free kick for in the back. It's going North Melbourne's way, and it'll come back to Petrie.
Well, Petrie did quite well there, but he actually nearly took himself under the ball, and he had a distinct height advantage on Hearn.
He's got 1 already tonight. 17-7 for the season so far. Tough kick this.
Just a bit too far out.
And the boundary line 5 in on his right hand side. He wants to just chip it over the top, and on the end of it, Brent Harvey takes the mark. The veteran with the smarts, he was clued in on it.
That was smart footy.
Well, yeah,
and that's obviously
flat-footed.
And that's the other thing. That's obviously 2 guys that have played a fair bit of footy together. Obviously understood that it was a bit too far for Petrie, 55 metres plus, and knew that Harvey, always hungry to get on the end of the ball to have a shot at goal.
Boundary line still 5 metres in on his left hand side. He'll have to kick it from about 35 metres out. Turned 35 on Tuesday. Kick on its way. He threads it through. And the Roos are out by 15 points. A second for Brent Harvey. North Melbourne 13-7-85. West Coast 9-6-70. 9-16-70 rather. At the 11-minute mark of the final term. They'll take a bit of catching. Clint Thomas is on the boundary.
Well, after spending probably almost a quarter on the bench, the Eagles have managed to stitch up Will Schofield, and he's back taking his place in the Eagles' defence.
That's a much needed another rotation for West Coast. And yep. Ken, we've made a point of it, but West Coast don't take their opportunities each time they get a shot at goal, whereas North Melbourne this quarter certainly have, and it's showing on the scoreboard.
There'd be real concerns for John Worsfold in the coaching box now for West Coast. Naitanui wins the tap down to Prittis, who gets a free kick for a push in the back against Adams. Prittis, short to the outer side, he finds Brennan. Brennan marks, plays on, kicks into the left forward pocket. He wants Darling, who's able to mark against Daniel Wells.
Too easy, that.
Must go back and kick this for West Coast. Crowd of 38,146 in Friday night footy in the West. They'll be heading home, the majority of them disappointed. If that's not to be the case, Darling needs to kick this goal from deep in the left forward pocket. He's missed again. Across the face, a minor score. Eagles 9-17-71, trailing North Melbourne.
1 goal 3.
13-7-85. And with Lacroix, still 1 goal 4?
Yep, 1-4, 1-3.
McMahon himself, long out to halfback, offhand spills down to Rosa for the Eagles. Marston, quick hands, away to Lacroix, kicks long goalward. It's off target. There's another behind.
There's been a free called there.
Yeah, free kick, a holding decision.
Oh, okay. Hate that when you mess your book up.
Sorry, Judgy. Free kick to McMahon on the last line of defence for North Melbourne. So 14 points is that margin. He kicks out towards half-back. Trying to work his way to the front. Petrie taking the juggling mark. No good. McKenzie gave it to Adam Selwood. He was pushed as he kicked. Got a fresh air shot. The umpire crouching down and now decides to call for a bounce. Out at half forward for the Eagles. 52 out from their attacking goal. 14 points the margin. It's North Melbourne who lead West Coast. Kangaroos have kicked 3 goals to 1 for the term.
Ball thrown up. Naitanui won it down. Worked it forward towards Rosa. He was tackled. So too was Pritis after receiving the hand pass. It's been locked in. There'll be a ball up just inside the Eagles' attacking 50 in the left forward pocket. Zeeble climbs up off the grass. Ball's thrown up again. Naitanui won it down, but it was straight to Bastanak. His kick was touched as it went up in the air. Zeeble gathered the footy, plucked it out of mid-air, and then grubbed the ball along the boundary line towards the outer wing. Glass got there first, so he tried to put a hand pass back down the line. Instead, it's over for a boundary throw-in. Eagles know that time is ticking away. Just 14 minutes gone in this final term. That 14-point lead at the moment seems a huge amount. As Naitanui wins the tap down, Cunnington takes possession and he gets a push in the back. Goes short. Finds Mullet, moves it on again. Now to Wells, who marks in the centre circle. Spears the pass to Petrie, who diving forward onto his knees takes the mark at centre half forward. Probably too far out to score. He'll kick towards full forward. He wants Black. He might have got a little nudge in the back by Brennan. It's allowed to continue, and then the ball spins away and is over for a throw-in at right full forward for the Kangaroos, who lead by 14 points, 15 gone, final term.
Won just once here, North Melbourne, in their past 8 starts. For the boundary throw-in. Swallow out after it. Heavy tackle laid by Shuey. Ball held in. Umpire lets them play and now calls for a bounce right on the goal line for North Melbourne.
Gee, captain's effort there. He nearly got through too.
They're only winning their past 8, round 21, 2010, back in Brent Harvey's 300th. From the restart, Bastanak roves it and then he's pulled over the line behind. North Melbourne moved to 13-8-86. They lead West Coast by 15 points. West Coast 9-17-71.
Hearn kicks to himself, runs to right full back and then thumps it long. He wants Naitanui, who flew over a pack at right half back. Marked off play, spills down to the ground. Goldstein taps it back. North in possession again. Forced to retreat once more by a long way was Gibson after he received a hand pass from Atley. Gibson moved it onto Ferrito, who'll put it long towards left half forward. Big pack flies, no one can take the mark. Comes down to Adams, kicks around the body towards full forward. Defensive mark to McKenzie. Read it best with Bastanak in front. McKenzie for the Eagles moves it to the left back pocket and he finds Adam Selwood, who has time to take the mark and just slow things down by switching play back towards Shuey, who marks in the right back pocket.
Shuey, he's kick ill-directed. Makes Scott Selwood work for him. Chops it off, got it in the direction of Shepherd, kicks down towards Hill, who's free at half forward, runs onto the footy, one bounce, wants to sell some candy, could be in trouble, steps around one, settles and goals. Gee, he did it the hard way, but Josh Hill's got his third. And the Eagles are still in touch. 10-17-77. North Melbourne 13-8-86. The margin back to 9 points at the 17-minute mark of the final quarter.
I've got to say, he would have incurred the wrath of the coach and about 6 of his teammates if that hadn't come off. Because he actually was a bit casual, had an opportunity to go over the top to, I think it was Darling. Opted not to, took a player on, nearly got caught and had a player closing on him as he kicked it. Good goal in the end. But I would say he just saved himself a little from a bit of a kick up the backside from a few blokes.
No, we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Obviously, very important goal. And as far as the forwards go for West Coast, it's been the most effective. He's certainly slotted his opportunities when they've arisen.
So he joins Aaron Black with the most amount of goals so far in the game. Both got 3. The bounce, the ball's locked in by Swallow. Tackling done by Marston and Cox will have a bounce.
Ball up, Cox palmed it down behind himself. Kerr hit it at speed, couldn't quite take it, was able just to soccer it forward. Gaff will run onto it at left half forward for West Coast, sends it inside the attacking 50. Kennedy stretching, couldn't mark, gathers the crumbs, gets a hurried kick away that will bounce at right full forward and then go over the boundary line for a throw. Eagles have upped their rating in the last few moments. Certainly playing better at the moment. The tap down by Cox. Out after it, Lacroix picks it up the West Coast. Gave it on towards Adam Selwood. Kicks towards full forward. Oh, how has he marked it? Josh Hill somehow has been held onto. Had two North players there and emerges with the mark. He can go back and kick from the right forward pocket. That is a terrific mark to Josh Hill. Can he kick his fourth?
Well, if Hill can kick this, he's single-handedly keeping West Coast in the game at this point in time.
Yep.
And for a player, he's a bit of an enigma. He's certainly stood up when they've needed him.
Josh Hill has missed. Terrible blow for the Eagles. It was a tight angle, but they needed to kick it.
Well, based on how he's been kicking, that's a poor miss because he is usually a good converter from there.
8 points the margin in favour of North.
Mullet to himself, comes out wide. Petrie the target. Went over his head. Free kick being held. Petrie to take it. Left half back for North Melbourne. 8 points the margin. About to tick into time on in the final term. He goes all the way back to Mullet, top of the defensive goal square. Swings it out to Atley, who marks at half back for North Melbourne. Short to Gibson, the sub, who's led away from Adam Selwood. Has it at right half back.
He's run 100 metres to get on the end of that.
Here's Gibson. And he goes long towards a contest. Slips out the back. Waters was there. Black breaks free of one tackle. Charges through. Puts it on the boot. Short kick. Back inboard finds Brent Harvey. Goes one way then the other. Short kick to Wells, who's got it in the middle of the ground. He's got Gibson inside if he wants him. That option's now gone. He'll come all the way out to the broadcast wing and find Zeeble.
Oh, there's one on here. He's taking too long, but he's got away with it.
Short to Gibson.
Not much now.
Just about every player in front of him. He kicks down towards half forward. Petrie, three back, takes the mark. At left half forward on the lead. Got away from McKenzie. And now we can go back and have a set shot. He'll have to kick it all the 50 metres.
He's only taken 5 marks, Petrie, but he's clunked 2 or 3 of them.
Yeah, he's been busy. Been very, very busy getting right up the ground and obviously been a real presence down forward. If he can kick this, this would be a real worry for West Coast here. It could be that first nail.
It'll put it beyond 3 goals in time on. It's a horrible kick. A helicopter down towards the forward pocket and helped over the line by Brennan. Boundary throw in deep in North Melbourne's attacking 50. 8 points the margin. It's the Roos over the Eagles.
21 minutes gone in the fourth term. Cox front position, wins it down. Rosa gathers, got tackled by Cunnington. The ball spills free again. Goldstein tries to work it out. Ball still on the deck. The Eagles looking to shovel it forward. Comes out to Bastanak. He's met in a strong tackle. Adams, I beg your pardon, by Marston. And it'll be a ball up.
Well, security staff are now coming out. And as a player, when you had a slim lead, you took that as the likely that you only had about 5 minutes to go. It's just time to hang on.
Ball up. Cox palmed it down onto Adams. Oh, tried a hand pass and then missed it. Had to go and gather it again. There was Gaff. But on internal Lacroix. Spilled out once more to McMillan. Kicks around the body. Right marks for North Melbourne in the right forward pocket. It'll be a tight angle for him, but he'll go back and take as much time as he can.
Well, everyone had gravitated to that contest here, and obviously Wright's just dropped off the back of the contest here and virtually marked uncontested.
So Wright is hard up against the boundary, and there's still a bit of chat going on here.
He's taken a long run up for that sort of angle. You want to get as close to the mark as possible so you can get some.
So Wright hits the right hand goal post. It goes wobbling for a few seconds more. North's lead 9 points, 22 and a half gone, final term.
What was Lindsay Thomas doing there?
Don't know. That's who was told to go away by the umpire.
I think Thomas was trying to tell him to get a bit closer to the goal.
Hearn to Naitanui, has to go the punch in the finish. North Melbourne with the numbers again out at half forward. Spills on the deck, picked up by Grimer. Hurried kick inside the forward 50. Unkind bounce for Petrie. Rosa for the Eagles, taps it back to Glass. Glass's kick out to Kerr. Kerr takes the mark at half back, and he has plenty of room in front of him. A couple of bounces. He's closed down now by Gibson. Kicks back inboard, looking to try and find Schofield, who's going one-handed at the moment.
Yeah, actually, I can understand. I just realised he's got the crook hand, hasn't he? But he's obviously
he's
worried about it. Yeah.
Tried to pick that up one-handed off the deck on the half volley, and in the end it's over the boundary line at half forward for West Coast. 55 metres out from their goal. Cox hooks it down behind, charging through with Shuey. Lost the footy in the process. Cunnington taken high, earns another free kick. And the Roos to take it at half back. They lead by 9 points, 24 minutes played into the final term.
I wouldn't think this quarter's going to go for a long time. There's only been 5 goals scored.
Cunnington kicks to Hanson, marks still inside defensive 50, beyond defensive 50 to right half back, and it's taken by McMahon. North with their 9-point lead, happy to waste as much time as possible when the opportunity presents itself, and they'll get a free kick too. The kick was down the outer side, beg your pardon, it's against Thompson, and Kennedy's got the free kick for West Coast. Looks to play on quickly to Glass, who marks at left half forward. He'll send it into the left forward pocket. Long kick, backing back. Shuey marks. North reckoned that he might not have held it for that long. They were trying to race away with it. He certainly lost possession of the football after he had hold of it for a moment or two, and he's hit the deck and he's in real trouble again, Shuey.
Yep, this is not the time for him to be in the hands of the trainer. He needs to go back and coolly slot this and get on with it.
Oh, you see why? Yeah, the left ankle.
Yep. Gave it a tweak.
He's certainly been in the walls today.
The left ankle went out from under him as he was backing back, but he's shaken the trainers off. He's going to have a shot at goal. Shuey with a goal this evening already. He'll kick from the left forward pocket from 25 out, and he has kicked it. There's life in the contest yet. 3 points the difference in what's been another thriller at Subiaco. North lead 13-9-87 to the Eagles 11-18-84. 25 and a bit minutes gone in the final term.
These two teams have met 11 times on Friday night. In 7 of those games, it's been decided by 13 points or less, and 4 of the last 7 have been decided by less than a goal. North Melbourne by 3 points away from home. Friday night footy in the west. Back in the middle, Naitanui leaps high, taps it straight down to Scott Selwood. Dispossessed in a tackle. The Roos with the numbers. Gibson, hand pass away towards Wells. Kicks down to centre half forward. Petrie gets free, can't take the mark. Coming through Adam Selwood, no free kick. Bastanak, he's tackled, taken to ground, and the umpire calls for a bounce.
Funny enough, he threw his head back then again. Unbelievable.
A restart on the attacking edge of the centre square for North Melbourne, kicking to the city end. They hold the lead by 3 points. Cox taps it away, but straight to Petrie's opposite number. Kicks inside the attacking 50. Bouncing footy down towards half forward. Hearn overran it. Picked up by Wright. Shot on goal. Chopped towards the top of the goal square. Looking to try and find Black. Had a hand on it. Palmed it down towards Adam. Heavy tackle laid. The ball eventually comes free. Pack forms. Little kick squeezed out by Black, and he misses to the near side. So it's still under a straight kick. 4 points the margin. With a behind at North Melbourne, they move to 13-10. West Coast 11-18.
In some respects,
North have got to react a lot faster than this.
The Eagles go down the outer side from the left back pocket. Waters tries to find Dean Cox. Just shy of centre wing. It's off hands, taken by Gaff. He'll run the ball along the boundary line.
I was going to say, they might have been better off not scoring a point to try and keep the ball in that area. Once you turn it over there, it gives West Coast a chance to have possession and go back down the ground.
Can't be long to go. There's a throw in centre wing. Southern side of Subi. Spun back into play. Both ruckmen had a touch. Down to Marston. Pushes a hand pass forward. Kerr runs onto it for West Coast. From left half forward. Kicks into the left forward pocket. Lacroix got hands to it for a moment. Couldn't complete the mark. It spills away from him and over for a throw in.
Not long to go. Important clearances.
Desperate times for West Coast. Their top 4 chances might rely on this. Shuey gets tackled and he gets a free kick. It's in the back. It's against Siebel.
Oh, that's a shocker. That is a shocker. He's just gone to ground.
Shuey tackled, goes to ground, and Siebel falls into his back. But it is so agonising for those in blue and white.
Well, I don't reckon he's got the leg from here. North Melbourne need more guys on the line.
Yeah, well, there's no one actually standing on the top of the goal line here.
Goldstein slowly works his way back as Shuey's kick is going to be short. Leaping up, good defensive mark. It's Black who's come all the way from attacking the defence to perhaps save the day for North. He'll get up and take some time about it. North's lead still 4 points.
Genuinely impressed with his game.
Here's Black. He comes out very wide with a kick. Lacroix stands underneath it. Offhand, spills down to Gaff. Hat pass away to Adam Selwood. Looking for the kick. He's tackled.
And
he gets the free kick.
You're kidding me.
Gee, a couple of hometowners laid to the pace.
Please.
The Eagles trying to pull it out of the fire as Adam Selwood kicks towards the hot spot. Kennedy the fly. Naitanui at the back. Nic Naitanui's taken a hanger over about 5 or 6.
He's come to about 10 deep.
We always knew he was capable of that, but what a crunch time in the game to do it.
Well, this is interesting.
I don't think I'm overemphasising this by saying this could be a defining moment in his career to this point. He's had his detractors just as far as his impact on the game.
So to win the match for the West Coast Eagles, him and Majak Dor, the story all week. And what a fairy tale finish if he can win it for the Eagles. Just about every North Melbourne player on the mark. Down by 4. Naitanui after the siren and the Eagles win. The Eagles win with a Naitanui mark and goal on the siren. They square the ledger at 4-4. Heartache for North Melbourne. What a Friday night in the Wild West. At Subiaco, the Eagles by 2 points. Hill kick 3, Shuey with 2, so too Kennedy, singles to Lacroix, Darling to Marston, and the one that mattered to Naitanui after the siren. While for North Melbourne, 3 to Aaron Black, 2 to Harvey, 1 to Cunnington, so too singles Petrie, Wright, Wells, Swallow, Thompson, Siebel and Dor. What a game of football, the Eagles by 2. North Melbourne players sank to their knees around the ground as the Eagles went to celebrate with their fans. Naitanui racing over to a pocket of supporters at the Subiaco end of the ground. He was joined by Eagles. They came from everywhere. Those that were able to running off the bench to celebrate with their teammates. North Melbourne so close to taking the 4 points away from the West. Not to be. Naitanui's mark will be something that will be shown, well, for years to come, certainly in WA. as we see John Worsfold go across in a nice touch, shake hands with Brad Scott in the middle of the ground. Both coaches know how close or how small the margin between agony and ecstasy is after a game of footy like that. West Coast win their 4th game of the season. They're 4-4, and their top 4 hopes, slim though they are, remain alive, while North Melbourne go to be 3-5 from their 8 games in 2013. The Eagles 12-18-90, North Melbourne 13-10-88 in front of a crowd of 38,146. The mark was sublime. The kick, there was a huge amount of pressure. And the build-up, as you said, Corbin, all week was about Majak Daw and Nic Naitanui. And it was the player in blue and gold who emerged with the points in that battle. Majak Daw subbed out at 3/4 time. What a game of footy. Another classic in the West. Let's hear from our experts, Ken Judge and James Clement.
Well, it certainly was a sensational game of footy, and statistically, right at the start of the game, we thought it was going to be a very close affair, and that both teams were very, very hard to split. We did, as a panel, I'd like to say, we all did back West Coast, and at one stage we thought that we'd certainly erred on the wrong choice there. But certainly, as far as West Coast go, they had plenty of opportunity and probably should have won that game a hell of a lot easier. Just looking at a couple of their guns, Ken, you've got LaCroix, who actually ended up kicking 1 goal 4. You've got Darling, who ended up kicking 1 goal 3. So effectively, if those guys had converted a bit more straight, then there would have been a very, very, I suppose, large gap in the game today.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct there. And West Coast probably after quarter time statistically looked. You'd think they probably should have won the game more easier, as you said. But look, it was a pretty good contest as a game for most of the night. But West Coast just showed great courage and spirit from mine. I mean, they were really knocked around. A number of their players were either sore or injured or one or the other. So they were down on the health of their list. So to hang in, they just kept hanging in, and of course you only have to be in front at the end, and that's exactly what they were. But you talked about defining games. It was an important kick for Nic Naitanui. My criticism of him when I talk about him is I say I just want to see him do things more often. We see him do that. We need to see him do it regularly. But it was an important time and an important game, and he took a big mark and kicked a really important after the siren. It was a really tough effort and a tough thing to do. So he did really well there. And of course, I think that's a bit of a defining game for West Coast as well, because I think to have shown the spirit that they showed tonight indicates to me that the health, the getting their better list back on the park is going to make them a far more competitive team. On the flip side of that, North Melbourne, you would say, where the position they are, it's going to find it very, very hard to make the finals. Yeah. But they have lost a lot of games of football in very close situations, and they would have to think that luck is certainly against them this season. Yeah, no, they were game North Melbourne. They had a red-hot go, but at the end of the day, West Coast, probably if you just talk purely spirit, etc., they showed a lot, West Coast, because they were seriously knocked around, in my opinion. Speaking of spirit, a lovely touch from the West Coast Eagles as Darren Glass, in his 250th game, is a winner, and he's chaired off the ground by Kennedy and Cox, and they head down into the Eagles race. Congratulations too, as we mentioned at the very top of the show, with Scott Selwood bringing up his 100th game. And for a long time it looked like the milestone might be a bit of a millstone for the Eagles not to be. A kick after the siren to Nic Naitanui after an outstanding mark as well, giving West Coast a 2-point win. The Eagles heading down into the rooms. Let's head down there ourselves and join Clint Thomas, because no doubt this will be a club song sung with plenty of passion, especially for the two milestone men, but also for the way that the game was won. Clint Thomas down in the Eagles' rooms. Absolutely, huge round of applause as the Eagles walked into the rooms. Darren Glass leading them. He's in the middle of the circle at the moment, joined by Scott Selwood with his 100th game, being showered by the sports drink, and the boys are about to bust out a very big flying high. We're
and we should actually be speaking to Scotty Selwood very shortly after his 100th game.
CT, we'll head back to you as soon as we can. So hopefully speaking to Scott Selwood, we hear down from the Eagles rooms. Apologies, Ken, I interrupted you just to make sure we got the club song.
No. I was done, mate. Done and dusted.
Done and dusted.
Yep.
Wrapped up nicely. Well, as we wait to hear from the Eagles rooms, let's have a look at some of the key stats. If I can just move it across. Here we go. In terms of possessions for the West Coast Eagles, Gaff finished with 22, Prittis with 21, Kerr with 21, Shuey, Naitanui and Selwood all with 18 touches, Marston with 17, Waters 16, Lacroix, Rosa and Hearn with 15 apiece. While for North Melbourne, Harvey, best of field in terms of disposals, 24, Wells with 23, Cunnington 21, Mullett and Hanson both with 20, Swallow had 19, Bastanak 18 and 17 for Thompson, Zeeble and Atley. North Melbourne had 314 disposals to the West Coast, 287. Clearances went the way of North, 34 to 30. Inside 50s were all square, 50 apiece with West Coast and North Melbourne. The marks, the way of North Melbourne, 81 to 77, and tackles going West Coast way, 63 to 41. Hitouts, Cox had 25, Naitanui had 20, Glass had 1 for the West Coast Eagles, while for the Kangaroos, Goldstein with 23, Dorr with 3, Hanson with 1. West Coast by 2 points in front of a crowd of 38,146. West Coast 12-18-90 to North Melbourne 13-10-88.
Judgy, we made the comment towards the back end of the broadcast. A couple of, hometowners, for lack of a better phrase. The decision's going against North Melbourne. Brad Scott, the coach of North Melbourne, has never been shy of saying exactly what he thinks at the best of times. How do you think he's going to respond tonight?
Well, I'd like to see the Shuey one again, but to me from here it looked as though he just sort of threw himself forward and got awarded a free kick. And then, of course, Adam Selwood, who makes an art form of throwing his head back, the umpire, in my opinion, fell for him throwing his head back and awarded a high tackle here. So, I mean, those two are late in the game. You're talking about because they're late in the game, but
there were other ones where Prittis was holding Thompson on the wing below us. Thompson was trying to get to the football, and Prittis was...
but those two there, that's in the middle of the game and in the middle of the field. Those two there were where they were going to be kicking the ball into a forward line. One's having a shot at goal, and the other's kicking the ball deep inside 50. So, it's just... I mean, I'd like to see him again, but I just, I thought both were really dodgy decisions. But, see him again in replay, I might get a different opinion, but I didn't actually see him again in replay.
Well, there was some footage of Scott played after that decision was made, and to say that he was unimpressed is probably an understatement. So he will certainly come out swinging, I'm imagining.
I didn't think the umpires had a good night tonight, I've got to tell you. I thought there was a number of errors made by all of them.
Consistently across the four quarters.
We did pick that up, Ken, through your comments throughout the night.
I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you just... Well, I say, I'm not an umpire basher, but you want to actually see games of footy where you don't notice the umpires umpiring. Now, I thought there was bad ones for West Coast as well, so I'm not just saying that because those couple at the end were for North, but I thought they made there were some consistently bad decisions all night by all the umpires, and it went in both directions.
A couple of bounces, or one in particular that should have been brought back.
It was a bad bounce at the centre, yeah. I mean, especially when the highlight of the week is going to be Dorr up against Naitanui, and the ball doesn't give one of them a chance to, to get a run at it. But everyone's excited about this great jump of these two talented, high-leaping ruckmen. And we watch a ball go outside the square and they let it go.
You can guarantee if a boundary umpire threw one in short or to the
right.
side, the upfield umpire would step in and make sure that's very exciting.
Yeah. It was some game of footy, though. Just remarkable. That mark from Nic Naitanui, and he did come from a long way back, but he attacked the football. It will be the defining moment, I would suggest, on maybe West Coast season. West Coast 12-18-90 to North Melbourne 13-10-88. Corbett Middlemass is a brave man. He's about to take his life into his hands and head into the North Melbourne rooms. Good luck, Corby. Hope we see you again very soon. While we still wait for the West Coast Eagles to provide something. The Eagles, gentlemen, in the 8 now. They've moved into 7th spot with that win. Of course, still plenty of the round to go. Round 8, 4-4, a percentage of 111.37. So they've climbed just into the 8 after the first game of round 8 completed. A couple of other games I should bring you up to date with before we hear a little bit more from our experts, just the other sports going around. In the Super Rugby game, which might almost be over, between the Western Force and the Sharks, the Force led the Sharks 10-7 at half-time. It'll be a surprise to no one to learn that the Sharks have hit the front with about 3 minutes to go. Their lead 23-13 over the Force. The games earlier tonight, the Rebels beat the Stormers 30-21 and the Chiefs over the Hurricanes by 17-12. Two lopsided results in the NRL. Brisbane 32-6 over the Gold Coast and South Sydney 54-10 against the West Tigers. A short time ago it was lunch, day 2 at Lords, England versus New Zealand. England 8 for 209 batting first. We'll do a bit more of that very shortly. James, Matt Jackdaw, we talked pre-game about him and he was going to be the talking point. What did you assess of his performance tonight? There were a number of occasions, particularly in that first quarter, where he had opportunities to mark the football, which you would expect a player at AFL level to do so, and he let them slip through his fingers. Just part of the learning curve for him?
It is. Look, at the end of the day, he looks like a 4-game player in the AFL, finding his way and developing. So the hype that followed him coming into this match was grossly unfair as far as I'm concerned. I think we all wanted to see, us in the box as well as the people here at the ground, we wanted to see him explode in the talent that we saw last week. But consistency comes with more games under your belt, and that's not something we saw tonight. He has got some development to do. As far as the ball coming to him, had a number of opportunities that I'm not calling a frontline forward, but certainly an accomplished AFL player would have taken those marks, and he really did struggle. But he kept on buttering up, and when he finally did take a pluck down at this end, he coolly went back and converted it. So, that's a positive for him.
Is it one of those, it's an awkward thing because so often the media understandably gets criticised for putting the boot into things and looking at the negativity, but you have a situation with a Matt Jackdaw where we're genuinely excited because he's athletic, he's big, he's tall, he's fast. He comes from a background which we think is an interesting story because of the way that he's come through, and hopefully can open up football to another community in this country. So we all want it to go really well, but as you say, it actually might put far too much pressure on the youngster. It'd be a tough balancing act, particularly, I would imagine, for a club like North Melbourne that's trying to do the best it can to promote itself.
Well, you're right, and the point was made earlier that certainly North Melbourne as a club that struggles as far as funding and sponsorship do need as much promotion and I suppose marketable players as possible. But even though there was hype around Matt Jackdaw, you would have seen during the week that North Melbourne really did protect him. They put him out there once or twice, but outside of that, they're keeping him in cotton wool. Just as far as the media goes, I think they're playing it well. Just let the kid develop. Don't let him have the pressure of the media on his back.
Let's head across to the West Coast rooms. One of their milestone men is with Clint Thomas. Clint.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Scott Selwood's been good enough to join us. Scott, your 100th game. What a way to mark the occasion, I guess.
Yeah, it was pretty special. I think, we tried to play 4 quarters of footy, and in the end, I think Nick Nat had to polish it off in the end and just make sure we got over the line. But it was awesome that we could get the win for Glassie's 250th.
What were you thinking after Nick took that grab? Did you back him to go back and put it through?
Yeah, I did actually. Me and Kerry was on the ground. Kerry, I think, was saying some sort of prayer or something. But we did back him in, and it was good to see that he did what he does best.
It's nice to get a win considering you battled injury all night. Sharad went off early, and then there were a few other guys that came off and struggled and then came back on. It was nice to sort of battle your way through that and get the victory.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we did have those injuries, and I think we didn't play very well overall as well. So I think to get the win, and we didn't play that well. I think against a team like North, who are a really impressive team, and full respect to them and everything. But it was just awesome that we could get over the line in such a tight battle.
No worries. We'll send you upstairs. You've got Ken Judge and James Clement.
Scott, congratulations on your milestone, mate, in the win. It's a fantastic effort.
Thanks, mate.
Look, not to make too much of it, but is that the defining moment of your season so far, and is that the defining moment of Nic Naitanui's career to this point?
Yeah, tough to say. I think, we can't really say it's a defining point until we finish the season and look back and say whether it had a major impact or not. But in terms of, needing the 4 points with where we're at, it was definitely it was pretty pivotal in where we were sitting in the ladder, and this will put pressure on the top 8, and if not, hopefully we'll be sitting there by the end of the week. But he was Nic Nat is a pretty special player, and I think in years to come he's only going to get better, which is pretty scary for other teams. And I think it'd be fair to say he'd be up there in the top players in the competition within the next 12-24 months.
During the week, and just as far as the latter parts of this game, the significance of the length of that road trip to Brisbane was that planned for, and was that obviously playing on the mind of the fitness staff?
Not really. They take everything into account. So this was our third 6-day break in a row. So we only had a light run around this week, and all the boys are feeling really, really fresh for the game. And we also got some hand inclusions back in Curry and Chris Maston. So that always helps. And then we got Bowie Waters back as well, which he had fresh legs. So then we had guys playing their role like Brad Shepherd coming on, and he played a major part when Sherrod went off. So it was good to see.
And finally, mate, your captain, Darren Glass, 250 games, a champion and stalwart of the game. Just give us a short insight into what his teammates think of him.
Yeah, I think we all think he's an absolute champion, and there's no person at the footy club that would speak ill of him. He's got a time for every single person at the club, and he's well spoken, and he leads by example, and he's just absolutely ruthless every week, which as a captain and a leader, that's all you can ask for. And you see him doing those acts, and it's quite easily try and follow him, and it's easy done.
Scott, congratulations on your milestone, mate. Just you really did appear as though there were a number of blokes that were pretty sore tonight. I mean, was that something that you were aware of as a player? I mean, there's a few blokes went down. I mean, your brother went down at one stage. I think he might have caught one on the head, and then Jacob Brennan went down with one on the head, and then Bo Waters in the last quarter. I mean, it appeared to us from up here that you'd really been beaten up a bit, so it was a pretty special win.
I think Bo usually goes down with some sort of head injury every week, so the concussion rule for him is pretty interesting. But I think we had Sherrod go off pretty early, so that meant Brad Shepherd come on, and then we had Will Schofield who might have hurt his hand or something. But in terms of playing on, I think most of the boys just tried to play their role, and we had other things set up in place which we knew if those guys played their role for the team that it wouldn't affect the outcome.
Scott, Clint Wilden here. From a supporter's point of view, would you let your supporters know in terms of tonight, was it one you were a bit lucky to get away with North having so many opportunities? I guess your goal kicking would have been another concern, but how did you rate the win overall?
I thought it was a pretty good battle. I thought they played really well. I thought we didn't play our best, but we managed to get over the line, and I think that's what good teams do. So we're slowly building. We know Nic Nat had a big part of that in the end, but guys are slowly improving. Mark LaCroix's set shot is slowly getting better. He hardly misses, and last week I don't think he missed one, and this week he might have missed a couple. But people like that are only going to get better with game time, and hopefully we grow as a team each week.
I would suspect again one of the discussion points throughout the week will be in terms of the missed shots, and I would imagine there would have been a fair bit of concern. Would there have been at half time with the opportunities that were spurned? It doesn't matter now because you've been able to get the 4 points, but do you think that'll be a concern around the club this week?
Not so much missed shots, I don't think. I think they were putting on pretty good pressure, so it's hard to say that the missed shots were the key factor, but I think it might be how we were setting up at stoppages, and if there's another loose player that's just got more time to have that shot. I think you probably got problems when them guys are missing the shot, but every time we miss most of our shots, a guy usually had a hand on their back or in their side, and it was just great pressure and great play by North Melbourne, and I thought it was their credit to their pressure that did all the hard work.
The two really gutsy wins, the win in Brisbane and the way you were able to get over the line tonight, how far away do you think you are now from playing your best footy?
I'm not too sure. I think it's a steady progress, and it just depends what guys come in and out of the team, but I don't think we're too far away. I mean, I think we played really well in parts tonight, and other times we just dropped away a bit, but I don't think we're too far away, and we're slowly building. So,
best of luck against GWS next week. Congratulations on your milestone game, 100 games in the AFL. Well done.
Thanks very much.
Scott Selwood joining us down in the West Coast rooms. He and Darren Glass, the skipper, with certainly a night to remember in their milestones. 100 for Scott Selwood, 250 for Darren Glass. Fair to say that they won't forget Nic Naitanui's mark or goal after the siren that gave the Eagles a 2-point win. West Coast 12-18-90, North 13-10-88. What do you expect next week for West Coast off to GWS? Ken, do they decide to perhaps rest a few of their players? We saw how sore they looked tonight. I know you don't want to take anyone too lightly, but knowing that you are facing GWS, if you had any question marks, would you give guys a week off?
Well, yeah, but you're not going to. You just can't leave everyone out. I mean, they've got some players they need to get some conditioners, so that's a concern. You wouldn't take a risk with any of your main players, I wouldn't think, based on the fact that, not being disrespectful, it is GWS, but it is another road trip for them, another long road trip after having won last week. And they've had a tough game tonight. They'll be sore after tonight's game because that was a pretty physical game, and we did see a number of players at various times for West Coast who appeared injured or got, had a bit of a heavy knock or whatever or however. So yeah, you're not going to take too many risks and with anyone who's super important to your team. But then again, you don't want to go over there thinking, we'll take a half baked side and lose a game over there, which is it's a winnable game if they're playing anywhere near half reasonably. And probably a convincing win.
West Coast cannot flirt with form at the moment.
So you would be taking your number one team?
I would. Obviously, if there's important guys that aren't fit, I wouldn't be taking them. I'd take them into consideration. But I would be...
But we're not talking about guys that aren't fit. We're talking about blokes who might be sore.
Well...
You'd play every one of them?
I would, and as a member of that team, I would work on the principle that part of any commitment that you make and part of playing for your club is turning up week in, week out. Now, things are certainly changing in teams as the seasons go on. There's more professionalism and resting players. But as I said, do not flirt with form. You need to bank every single possible game you possibly can at this point in time. And if I was West Coast, I would not be taking it lightly by potentially leaving some players behind that you wouldn't necessarily do against stronger opposition. That's just my view.
I've watched a few more of the replays, and this won't make anyone driving away from Subiaco happy at all if they're West Coast supporters, but I think North can consider themselves exceptionally unlucky with a couple of those free kicks late in the game. You said it, Ken. Having seen a couple of the replays on the screen here in front of us, I think you're spot on. Yeah. I think, in particular, the free kick in the back that Zeeble gave away, just really tough. The tackle came to him, fell forward. I'm not quite sure how you actually try to get out of that situation. I'd be really keen to hear what Brad Scott has to say, because he could be in fine form a little bit later on this evening.
Yeah, he does get he's a bit emotional. It was a big game for them, as I said, going to this game. It was a big game for both sides, so it was a very important win for West Coast and a very tough loss for North.
They've got Adelaide next week, North Melbourne. It's on Sunday, so they get a bit more of a break at the Docklands. How would you see North being able to recover emotionally from a game like that?
Oh, they'll get up emotionally. I mean, if anything, it makes you hungrier. You think you're a bit stiff. So I don't think the emotional thing is the issue. They're lucky they got an extra couple of days, because I think there are a lot of their players appeared to be injured tonight, but I think it was a pretty physical game. I think it was a game, where there's a lot of body clashes and all that sort of thing. And they play that sort of footy, North. They play collision sort of footy, and so they'd have a few blokes that are a bit sore as well, I reckon.
It'll say a lot about them, the way that they respond, but they have had some heartbreaking losses against some very good opposition this year, and they have managed to come out fighting and put some wins on the board, and I think I agree with Ken. I think you'll see them come out firing next week.
Well, they did that after the Hawthorn loss, where they went down by 3 points back in round 5, hit back admittedly against Port, down in Belrive to win by 10, and then the win last week against the Western Bulldogs. We'd like to hear from you. 1300 222 720 is our talkback number to speak to Ken Judge or to James Clement. 1300 222 720, wherever you happen to be around the country after the West Coast Eagles win over North Melbourne. West Coast 12-18-90 to North Melbourne 13-10-88, a 2-point win in front of a crowd of 38,146. Repeating the leading goal kickers for the Eagles, Hill kicked 3. Kennedy with 2, and so too Shuey with 2, while for North Melbourne, Black kicked 3, Harvey with 2. But the goal that mattered, the one for Nic Naitanui after the siren to give the West Coast Eagles the win. A couple of interesting games coming up in the next day or so. Ken, a couple of beauties, a couple of, I wouldn't say exactly enthralling encounters too, but Essendon versus Brisbane tomorrow. Hawthorn versus GWS, well, that could be a cricket score. And Gold Coast Western Bulldogs, I find fascinating. Yeah, mostly big for the fact in terms of how Gold Coast appear to be coming along.
Well, yeah, and that's a game I think they'd be thinking they can win. So that is a big one. I think that's one of the really big games of the weekend. I think there's a few that could be a bit lopsided. And it'll be interesting to see how Collingwood goes on the rebound against Geelong. And the Sydney and Fremantle game should be an interesting game as well. But, I think that Gold Coast Suns and Western Bulldogs, I've gone for the Suns because it's up at Metricon Stadium, and they need to start putting wins back to back. I mean, they've shown at times they can play some really good footy, but winning games on end has not been something they've been doing. So this is an extremely winnable game for them for mine.
Actually, and interestingly enough, I don't know whether I've got my maths right here, but if Gold Coast win and Collingwood lose, then Gold Coast end up higher on the ladder than Collingwood. Is that correct, or am I imagining things?
I'll have to have a look at that. Well, Gold Coast would jump to 16
right.
with a better percentage, and they would go above Collingwood.
That's phenomenal when you think about it. And Collingwood are genuinely up against a probably form side of the competition at this point in time in Geelong. Ken wrote an article during the week that shone the light on Geelong, and we all thought that with their ageing superstars and potentially not the development in those youngers, that they might sort of start sliding down the ladder, and that's proven to be wrong. And all of us have to put our hand up and recognise the fact.
Well, I think we've all been waiting for them to drop off, haven't we?
We have, and Geelong are genuinely a premiership threat again in 2013. So Collingwood are going to find it very tough because all is not well down at Collingwood at this point in time.
As we wait to see if we can get someone to speak to from the North Melbourne rooms for our listeners throughout Victoria and indeed the North Melbourne fans around the rest of the country, let's head to the first of our talkback callers. 1300 222 720. Brendan, fire away. The floor is yours.
Look, boys, I'm a severely disappointed North Melbourne supporter.